What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of OnTrack with DJ Tracktion and Mr. Foxy Jackson.
Good afternoon.
Love that name. I'll never get tired of that. I'm going to see how many episodes I can open just talking about your name. It sounds like you should be a Secret Service agent, like Mr. Agent, Special Agent Fox Jackson.
It almost sounds like a blaxploitation character, I guess like maybe Foxy Brown, or no, Foxy Brown was. Am I thinking blaxploitation? Or is that an R&B singer?
No, both.
Okay, it is both. Okay,
and she was a rapper, but before it was actually an actress.
And then it doesn't help that Pam Grier, who played that person, also played Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
In the Quentin Tarantino film,
and I was confused the crap out of me when that came out, actually.
Wait, Jackie Brown, am I thinking of the right thing? And yeah, so
first off, thanks for everybody that has been actually listening and downloading them and stuff.
Oh wait, people listen to this? I thought this was just for me and you.
Surprisingly, it is. It's getting out there a little. More people. Let's put it this way. More people have listened to it than the amount of people that I've tagged in Facebook posts. So that's a plus to me.
And I think I should say, I don't personally listen to it. So that's at least a number you know.
I was going to say, me neither.
I'm not messing with it.
That's what I like about this little app that we're using to record this. I can just upload it right up there, and I don't have to... We don't edit this or anything, obviously. It's done, we do it, and it gets sent into the cloud, I guess, and... up there for the world, for everyone to criticize.
Which we should mention, since we don't listen to it, tell us if there's something going on that we don't notice.
Yeah, right?
Like maybe I clap really loudly when I laugh sometimes, and that sounds horrible.
Or if there's any periods of 5 minutes where there's no sound, that's an accident. That is not on purpose. So please let us know. Except
for when we take moments of silence, which we do. We do a small prayer period at the beginning of every podcast. So.
Yeah, I just took a drink too. I was about to pour out some liquor, but we're in my room, so I'm not going to do that.
Have you do you like Key and Peele?
Yes.
Have you seen the pour one out for my homie sketch? Where the guy, he's really stingy, so he doesn't want to...
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, and they keep trying to yo, why? You got to pour some out, man.
Dude, oh, man. They really kill me. I love them.
I enjoy it. I like how it's very, it's put together and shot like it's an expensive movie.
Yeah.
You know, the production value is awesome, and it makes it even funnier for the type of skits and sketches that they do.
Yeah.
You know, the production value is so over the top, and not in a corny way, but in a holy crap, this could have been a scene out of a movie type of way.
And what's great is the new season, you can watch all the episodes on YouTube. They just upload them, and I
Nice.
guess to get more people to watch the TV show, they put a little frame around it. So say you're watching it full screen 1080p, it's 360 of that, 360 p pixels in there inside of a Key and Peele frame with a little curtain. And so you can watch all the episodes on there, and honestly, that doesn't bother me that much that I have to watch it smaller.
No, that's another show that does that is Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. It's an HBO show.
Is that show good?
It's awesome.
I watched a little bit about his the one about Miss America, which was really, really popular. And for those that don't know, feminism is actually something that's really close to my heart. So I watched that one, and that was really entertaining. And I always loved John Oliver on The Daily Show and on Community.
I never got into Community.
Oh, that show is hysterical.
I'm going to have to give it another try.
You might have to, if you're going to watch it from the beginning, you might have to kind of push through the first season, because the first season it still feels like a formulaic sitcom, sort of, whereas later on it may feel like a formulaic sitcom at times, but they also poke fun at the fact that it feels like that, and it they parody a lot of things. It's really it's a great show, and
I heard good things about it, and that's why I did, try it. But I got maybe 2-3 episodes, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, if you want, go to one of the episodes in the middle. Watch that and get yourself hooked.
And see if I like it and be all right, we'll go back to this.
Same thing with Parks and Recreation. I tried to start watching that with my girlfriend, and she was like, yeah, I don't like this.
You know what? I liked it from the beginning, that one.
Oh, yeah?
And at first I was like, okay, it's definitely not as good as The Office, and it's done in that type of way. But it was good enough where I kept watching it. I enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I ended up showing her an episode in like the middle, and she was like, "Oh, that show is amazing." And so then we ended up rewatching it from the beginning, and I didn't mind because that show's great.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. And the two people that are actually in The Office that are in it.
Are there?
Yeah, Christopher Pratt, who was, what's the fucking chick's name? The receptionist in The Office.
Oh,
that married Jim.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but what was that? Her original husband or
her original fiance boyfriend that worked in the stockroom of The Office.
Yeah,
was Christopher Pratt, then the other chick, her real name's Rashida Jones. Oh,
I love Rashida Jones.
Yeah, the one who started as Christopher Pratt's girlfriend in Parks and Recreation was Jim's girlfriend at some point in The Office.
Rashida Jones is the daughter of a famous music producer. I can't remember his name. She was also good friends with Tupac. You can find pictures of Rashida Jones hanging out with Tupac.
Did not know that.
Wearing like, I want to say like baggy denim pants.
Now I got to find out who it was, because I want to say Quincy Jones, but...
Quincy Jones.
Is
Quincy
it really?
Jones. Yeah, Quincy Jones. She's the daughter of Quincy Jones.
Yeah, I did not know that...
So look it up.
Because I mean, she's like, I guess... It's kind of dark, but it just looks like a tan. It doesn't look like she's black.
She's mixed race.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a African American like myself. Which as well, Key and Peele are. Key and Peele both have white moms. Oh man, I think Key and Peele, they're probably one of the funniest.
It's Quincy Jones.
Yeah, it's Quincy Jones. There we go.
Look at that.
Yeah, and so she's actually, is that the... Oh, no, that's not the picture. I thought it was. You can find, pictures of Rashida Jones just hanging out with Tupac.
And this is the first thing that comes up, which is a little weird, because I just Googled Rashida Jones' dad, and right after, the little Wikipedia and images, read a 17-year-old Rashida Jones' fiery letter to Tupac.
And there she is with her hoop earrings, and... I
was going to say, is it bad that she looks way more like she could be black here? They're like, all right, yeah, maybe she's half black. Yeah, well, it's just the earrings, though.
And then you have to think about it, for TV, you do have to have a certain,
makeup.
Yeah, you have to have tons of makeup, and until recently, I want to say Oprah helped pioneer new makeup for black people, because previously makeup for black people either made you look like you were made of dirt or made you look like you were orange. And I want to say it was Oprah, I could be wrong. Pioneered makeup for black people, but I think also, people are less willing to hire a black woman to be anything but a black woman, where another character on the show, played by Retta, I can't remember the character's name, but she's a little black for the sake of being black, I feel like you hire a person like that for saying, okay, we can have her deliver sassy lines, You
know what? Sometimes I think about when I see something if it's whatever type of show, and it's the whoever they have being the black person in the show is a little almost like a caricature, cartoony, real campy type of black. It's sometimes you want to be why would the person even take that role? You know what I'm saying? Especially when, again, I guess it's kind of like when we started talking about that show Blackish. Just based on the commercials, it's why would Lawrence Fishburne do... Yeah. Not even just do that role, but apparently he's the producer of it and stuff.
Yeah, he's one of the main producers.
And you know what?
I hear that show's actually very good.
I was going to say what's weird about that is I happen to get home from the gym on Wednesdays right when that show is coming on, so I'm eating dinner while that show is on. So I've seen almost all of them so far. And that first episode was what the fuck? But it's gotten a little better.
Yeah, I don't know. I hear good things. A mutual friend of ours said that, also a fan of the podcast. He said that he really appreciates he appreciates the show. He really likes the show, and I'm not into things that.
It's yes, this episode we're just gonna keep sucking our own dicks.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like things that that don't. It doesn't feel like it's poking fun at this like idea of urban culture enough. It seems like it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of things that sort of further the belittlement of black people, and I feel like that might. I mean, like I said, I haven't watched it, so I could just be talking.
No, you see that again. That first episode looked like that's your argument is right on point. It's getting a little less and less of that. Like those type of scenes are not happening. It's not every scene now for the whole episode. It's like, all right, maybe there's one there where it's like, but everything else that's happening, you're like, okay, I can kind of let that one slide in there, you know?
Yeah.
It's not as egregious as, like I said, I felt that first episode was. It was just like this, it looked like it's something, should have been a Key and Peele sketch in the show, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of actually being the show.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is people are probably going to come at me because like I said earlier, I love Key and Peele. I love Key and Peele, but I feel like they lampoon these things clearly. Like they're very clearly saying, these things are silly about like the way people perpetuate themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't make any secret of them being like well-learned people, being friendly to like the homosexual community, which are things that unfortunately inherently aren't things that the black community wants to embrace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really like them. I'm a really big fan.
Yeah, it's always been a little weird where like if a certain group is like put down or denied rights or something like that, how they can't understand it for another group of people for a pretty similar thing, It's like didn't you guys just go through this, like, or going through it like currently, like, can't you kind of feel their plight a little?
Yeah, and I think it's I don't want to go on a diatribe about this, but I do think it's a big part of it is a lot of African American people are very religious, so and then they and obviously there's no real correlation between religion and hatred of homosexuality, but people put that correlation to it because, whatever. They think two people sucking each other's dicks is gross.
Wasn't Adam and Steve?
Yeah, actually, there's new research. They said it was Adam and Steve. We've just evolved by the way we reproduce now.
Yeah,
so.
Like, there's new research. Probably wasn't Adam and Eve either. But so apparently this letter she wrote at 17, like, really goes in on Pac, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, because I guess Tupac had... the title of it is Tupac Dissed My Pops.
We actually, conspiracy theory, we both believe that Rashida Jones killed Tupac, so we should put that out there.
Nah, not both of us. Because, like, she's 17 at this point.
Yeah,
she might have been 20 when he died. Maybe.
Better motive.
I don't know. Then again, I just feel like being that it's Quincy Jones' daughter, if she wanted to,
she'd probably get right in there.
She probably could have gotten it done, like, while she was in China or something. I don't know why I should show China, but I'm just saying. I'm just gonna let you look up that letter if you want, because I'm not gonna read this whole thing. But,
Tupac dissed my pops is the header here. Everyone should know.
And she does mention that what Tupac said about Quincy Jones is all he does is stick his dick in white bitches and make fucked up kids. So I can see why she might have been a little upset.
Yeah, I don't blame her, since she's evidently one of those fucked up kids who is like probably one of the most beautiful women in television right now.
She's hot.
And yeah, pretty good actress, I'd say. I recently saw her in, I can't remember the name of it, Celeste and Something Forever. It was her and Andy Samberg, and it was a pretty good film. It was one of those sort of, indie romantic comedy things, but challenging the idea of a romantic comedy. So they, it starts off, and I kind of don't want to give it away, but they give it away in the synopsis of the movie. So it starts off and you think that they're like kind of a cute, slightly dysfunctional couple, and then like they go to the next scene and they're having dinner with their friends, and their friends are like, you guys are really pissing us off, like, you got divorced, stop acting like you're a couple. And like that's the whole thing, is like they're still like good friends.
Celeste and Jess forever?
Celeste and Jesse forever.
Jesse forever.
And
I was gonna say, I think I've recall seeing the trailer for it.
And it's one of those,
but I didn't see the movie.
Feel bad indie comedies that, it has pointless sort of slow motion, interludes where someone's playing like ukulele or, mandolin or something with lots of reverb. And, it's
She was in Our Idiot Brother. I saw parts of that.
Our Idiot Brother. I don't think I've heard parts.
Of that. It was with, was it Paul Rudd?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to see that. Was that, you said it had some good parts?
Yeah, some good parts. I saw it on TV, so who knows. I feel like if you do watch anything and some of the scenes are good on TV, the actual movie's probably better.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's what I found out about Saving Silverman, which I watched probably 50 times on Comedy Central before I saw the actual movie.
Yeah,
it is. This movie's awesome.
Way better. Same thing with, like, Waiting and, oh my god, if you watch Superbad on TV, you shoot yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's the first time you see it.
Though I wasn't a big fan of Superbad.
That shit was hilarious.
People disagree. I don't know, there was something that made me uncomfortable about watching Jonah Hill, the little kid, saying the word pussy every second, and but
the part that I actually thought was a little weird was when the other dude, the skinny kid, not McLovin, the other kid,
the other kid that no one remembers,
that guy, which I actually like his style of acting. Like, I like his delivery in those type of
I have to look him up because I literally can't even remember him.
Because it's just real dry and everything, so I like that. But there's a scene where the girl that he was crushing on is like wasted at this party, and they're about to hook up and everything, and it's just weird because like, all right, I know she's an actress, and she's not really like 17, but
yeah.
Right now she's playing a 17-year-old that looks like a 17-year-old, so it was a tad bit awkward.
Yeah, that stuff always makes me uncomfortable, and every once in a while I'll be watching a movie that is starring actual younger people, and there's someone that has to be cast as like the hot person, and I feel uncomfortable thinking like a casting director had to look at that young girl and go like, yeah, she's hot, the kids are like that, like, and I don't know, it just makes me I guess obvious. Oh, Michael Cera? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, yep, that's his name. He was in
Year
right. One.
That's right. He was in Superbad. He's I liked him in Scott Pilgrim. That was a.
No, I couldn't get into that.
It was a fun movie.
I think you kind of have to like know about it a little.
I didn't. I went in cold, and I honestly thought it was actually going to be like one of those indie movies that I said before, but I was like pleasantly surprised that it was like explosive and colorful, and also the director was someone of note.
I was like, I just remember watching it, and I was like, "The fuck am I watching, man?" I was like,
the director was the guy who did I can't remember his name. He did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, which is called like the Cornetto trilogy because all of them have this Cornetto ice cream that they have in England. All of them have different colors of that in it, and they know this. What's the name of this gentleman here? Is really, that's not what you give me. You give me who the actors are, and you don't give me this amazing director.
Listen, I got you.
Edgar Wright.
You got it first.
And there's actually a great movie. There's a video online talking about how Edgar Wright is such a better director for comedy than, say, like a Judd Apatow, I think is their main comparison, in that he actually directs comedy into what's happening. So the whole scene is funny, added on to that, and the cinematography will make things funnier, and how basically Judd Apatow movies are just kind of, dude bro improv with no real direction. It has, a set, 3 cameras or whatever that get like establishing and frame shots. And,
I guess it's just...
And, I'm not going to make that serious comparison. Like, that one's better.
That's what I'm saying. It's personal preference at that point. Because I'm going to say, from my personal preference, I think probably even the worst Judd Apatow movie I've seen is I like more than Hot Fuzz. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Yeah, because, like, there's a certain level of ridiculousness I'm okay with. And I think it's past mine.
It's interesting because I hear a lot of people say that they didn't like Hot Fuzz, and I went in expecting absolutely nothing. Me and a good friend, we watched that movie, and literally we got to the end, and we were like, "That was cool. You what do you want to do? You wanna watch it again?" And we just watched that movie again, and there's so much stuff in there that's like hidden. And spoiler alert, so cover your ears over this.
This shit came out in 2007. No fucking spoiler alert.
Basically what ends up happening is you think it's this quaint little village that this city cop got moved to, and in all reality it's like there's, you know, like a secret society of
criminals,
yeah,
all of them.
Yeah, like basically they end up killing like any sort of like riffraff in their town in order to make their town seem wholesome and nice. It's like the
nuns are packing Uzis and shit.
Yeah, and so the end has like it really, I think, nicely crescendos into this like explosion of violence at the end, and I think it's really great. And then when you rewatch it, there's a lot of foreshadowing to that you never would have caught because you think that the movie's just going to be, you know, this quaint buddy comedy thing.
Speaking of spoiler alerts and movies that I'm going to see again. I saw Gone Girl last night.
Oh, was that good?
It was Tuesday. This is Thursday. It was Tuesday. It was awesome. Like, fucking awesome. Not going to really talk about it because it just came out, so I don't want to, like, kill it for anyone. But I highly enjoyed it. And I went and saw it with my cousin. Me and my girlfriend talked about seeing it, and we did something else that weekend before. So I didn't tell her I went to see it. So I'm going to go see it again with her. And I know she don't listen to this shit, so it's cool. So I'm not that worried. But I was actually gonna try to go see it tonight, but I think we'll just wait for the weekend. Because it's definitely one of those movies like, all right, I gotta watch this again. And it was like, I don't know, have you ever heard of the movie God Bless America? It was by
that movie was great. The Bobcat Goldthwait movie. That movie was great.
You were gonna love Gone Girl then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was like that type of, you know, like, kind of like from the outside, looking at how the media portrays these type of situations and stuff.
Oh, so more that aspect, less the over-the-top comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Although,
okay. I was going to say, it seems like...
There are obviously funny parts where you're like, I don't know if you should be joking around right now, but...
That's a David Fincher joint, right?
No idea. I'm not that good when it comes to directors and stuff.
It's the guy who directed, I want to say, Aliens. So that's the second one.
Oh, wait,
maybe he directed the third one?
Yeah, didn't, what's his name do the second one? Wasn't it, James Cameron that did the second one?
James Cameron did the... You know what? Let's look it up.
Yeah.
Because...
IMDb.com is, like, the best fucking website ever for this type of stuff. I remember one of my professors in documentary media class I took put me onto this. And this was like, I don't know, 2005 or some shit.
IMDb is a really old website, and what's nice is that not everyone can update it.
Fincher.
Oh, it was a David Fincher joint. And then he directed Fight Club. Seven.
Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and The Social Network.
And he's a big time director. He's a very, very
all
great
of those
director.
Were great movies. And he's the executive producer of House of Cards.
Oh, I didn't know.
How do I not know this guy?
Yeah, he's big into these
that fucking show is
heavy
awesome.
dramas. Go down to directors. Which one was it? Aliens or Alien 3. So it was the lesser of the Alien movies, but the direction of it's nice. That movie got kind of fucked at the chopping block, and I will say though, Seven evidently is considered a pretty revolutionary movie as far as credit sequences. Did you know that?
No, I'm trying to remember how it came in, but I don't totally remember.
It had one of those, like, sort of, I want to say it was like panning over lots of cut-out newspaper sort of things.
All
and,
right.
you know, sort of surreal, abstract stuff from that. I could be wrong. But that was one of the first movies that
shit
like,
right now.
they sent it out to, like, a different company to direct the
credits?
To direct the credits, and yeah, people really started doing that afterwards, which that was previously a thing, like back in the day with like Saul Bass and stuff like that, and like, you know, the Pink Panther movies, and like around then, I guess that was like the 60s, and I actually just downloaded a bunch of comedy movies from the 60s. I watched those.
Those are, you know what? Some of those are weird because comedy is very like, like reference of the times type of thing. So
yeah,
you can watch some of that shit and be like, how did people laugh at this?
Yeah. Oh, so this is the intro here, and yeah, it's a lot of like macro shots, and I guess it's someone doing collage work, I guess.
I was gonna say, remember like you see how you just saw a 7 come up like 3 different times and kind of, I don't know, it's not like blurred out, but blurred out in the background there. I was like, that's what I kind of remember of it, with all these like old film looking type of shot.
Yeah, and they used to do that back in the day with people like Saul Bass and stuff like that, and then it kind of faded out, and now they do it, like there's actually a production company that you can find a video, they exclusively do that. And they do like The Walking Dead, they did the intro to, oh wait, maybe not The Walking Dead, they did the intro to Mad Men, that little animation there.
And I like Mad Men. That's a very interesting show, especially for not obviously growing up in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. I hear it's good, and I should, because I'm a graphic designer, and it's a lot of it's like about advertising. I'm sure they don't make a lot of in-jokes, because I think that would probably be alienating, but...
it's an interesting look. It's also really interesting to see how just like women were treated back then, like publicly in the workplace in front of everybody. Like everybody was just cool with it. Like, no, this is the way it happened. So, you know,
and the amount of
accept
alcoholism
that shit.
Too.
Like, there's almost not a scene where someone has a cigarette or a drink.
Yeah,
and I remember hearing that, they're using, it's not like I guess some type of like e-cigarette type of thing. Because there's no way that they can have them smoke that much while filming this show.
They have fake stuff to smoke for like when they're smoking like weed in scenes and they're smoking cigarettes. Like there's fake stuff to smoke. So
I feel like though in a lot of movies when they're smoking weed that they're really smoking weed. Especially the Judd Apatow movies. I feel like they almost definitely are.
They sort of say that they don't. I know Nick Swartzen has something. Yeah,
because they have to say that shit.
He has something in his bit about it though. How I don't remember that actor's name. The guy in Little Nicky goes, I dropped a fat sack of reefer in the mix. He's in what is that, Grandma's Boy?
Grandma's Boy, awesome movie.
And
thoroughly enjoyed that.
I put off seeing that movie because it was one of those movies where I heard people making quotes of it before I saw it, and I was like, I never enjoy those movies because I already know the jokes,
Yeah.
And I still enjoyed it. I put it off for a while, and that movie was good.
I bought it on a whim. It was like fucking $5 in Target one day. This is like, I don't know, I guess close to when it came out, sometime in between 2006, 2008 or some shit. And I just saw it, and I'm like, I saw Adam Sandler like produced it, his company and stuff.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like Happy
Gilmore
Productions, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'll try this. And I thought that shit was funny as hell.
You heard what happened with Adam Sandler, right? He signed a deal with Netflix, and he's going to be releasing a bunch of movies exclusively through Netflix.
That is awesome.
And, the only thing that is not awesome to me about that is Adam Sandler movies haven't been so great lately. So I don't know if that's a production company thing or...
This is the thing. This is my feeling on that. Because he's been doing, like, the box office movie releases and stuff that are like family orientated. Now that he has his own kind of deal that I can go right to Netflix, it's like, all right, I don't have to make anybody else happy really. I can kind of release what I want to, and if it's directed more towards 30-something males or whatever, I can do that.
Yeah.
And just boom, give him that.
Yeah, and he probably
might
has
be
like
a little more freedom in it.
Yeah, and there's probably less overhead with marketing and stuff like that.
Oh, without a doubt.
A crazy amount of money goes into marketing, and
more than
sometimes really bad marketing too. Like
almost all the time.
Yeah,
really bad marketing.
Yeah,
it's just that bigger companies and stuff. It's basically the cost of doing business, Yeah. And they can put so much into it, and it almost goes. They almost go by the rule like, fuck it, as long as it's being seen, let's get it in many places as possible. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is. If people see it and can remember it, even for being bad, then that's good.
Yeah, I think. I think sometimes they really screw themselves over in situations like that. They either under advertise where you're like, oh, that movie's out, or they over advertise where you're like, yeah, I get it, this movie, it's coming out,
and it's some shit that you don't want to see anyway. Like I feel like the last Transformers movie was like that. Where it's like I had no desire to see that shit, and everywhere I looked, that damn trailer came on.
Yeah, and then they also had a lot of like ancillary stuff too. So like sometimes it would be like an ad for the video game.
Yeah, exactly. It was all over the place. And the funny part about that is that how you said like, oh, if they don't advertise them enough, then that shit's on video, and you're like, oh my god, I didn't even realize it was in the theaters. same thing that happened with Transformers. I saw it like out on video. I'm like, wait, they released it already? Like, I know I saw 8 commercials every fucking day, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure that movie bombed. That's why. Yeah, it's crazy how quick things. I mean, because I guess it's just a digital file now.
Especially
so
now.
Like, yeah, just throw it on a DVD and
exactly.
it'll take 5
Especially
seconds.
now, it's crazy. It used to be, it would take about 3 years for a movie to run its course in the theaters and then come out on VHS.
Yeah.
And then maybe it was 5 or 6 years before it was on HBO.
Yeah, like
now it's fucking 6 months and the DVD's out.
Yeah, movies would stay in the
Blu-ray
theaters for so long, and like, yeah, it's just. And then like after they were out of the theaters, you had to wait all this period of time in order to get like a tangible form of that movie.
Yeah, now it's just they're spitting shit out. I think that's. I remember there was a time like about. Might be wrong in the time frame here, but there was a couple 2 to 3 year period where like there were sequels coming out of everything for like movies that came out mad long ago that some of them weren't even that great. We're like, why do we need a sequel to this? And it was just that one, that 1 year, 1 summer, whatever it was, that it was just everything that came out was a part 2, was a sequel.
Yeah.
And half of them were like, well, the first one sucked. Why the hell would I even? Why would I go see this? I was just running out of ideas because and when they were remakes too. If it wasn't a sequel, it was a remake of something.
Yeah, man,
and it's just
crazy.
It's just to get shit out there.
Well, did you hear they resold the rights? Or I don't even know if you really need to sell the rights because it's a relatively old book now, but to I Am Legend, and they're making another I Am Legend movie.
Yeah, remakes of stuff that came out 5 years ago. So come on, man.
Yeah, and what's crazy is this one still is not based off the book. It was a really amazing book, and spoiler alert to a book that probably came out before you were born. Before you were born.
I was gonna say something. I'm glad you picked up on that.
I just emigrated from Ireland, and before you were born, so basically what I Am Legend meant, which I still haven't seen the film, but I know they've changed the meaning of what I Am Legend meant. I think the meaning that they made for the Will Smith joint was I am legend because he cures this disease, or I am legend because he sacrificed himself for the cure for this disease.
It appeared like I watched it, and again, just not a movie I enjoyed all the way through. Actually, it was like one of those movies that was actually pretty damn good until the end, and like for me ruined it. And apparently there were some alternate endings that they could have went with endings. And I heard like the actual one that may be more closely related to the book is like the better one that they should have went with. So yeah, he definitely, I think, sacrifices himself, and you assume that the other chick gets to wherever she's supposed to go, and they're gonna find this cure. Yeah. Like that's what it looks like. But the way it was done was pretty shitty.
Yeah, they first off, I didn't see the movie because looking at the trailers, there was horrible CG in places where it was people. Why did you need CG for people that just looked a little different? Like just throw some, silicone and makeup on them, or, latex and makeup and put some foam under there, like...
That was one of my issues with it. It was like, again, if you can't look at something and reasonably believe it, it's like, it's gonna kill the movie for you.
And so they hinged onto the fact that zombies are popular right now. And it's crazy, because I used to love zombies, and I actually walk around with a zombie shirt, for the Lucio Fulci movie Zombie, and people think I'm walking around with like a generic like I love zombie shirt, and I actually now I'm sick of zombies. There's so much of it,
oversaturation of it.
Yeah, exactly, and I felt like 28 Weeks Later was probably like the last actual zombie movie I saw, and I love those two movies, 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later.
I've seen parts of 28 Days Later. Everyone says it's awesome, and it seems like a movie I would like. I actually tried to watch it, and I just couldn't get through the first half hour. So it just
really,
I don't know what it was. Maybe I have to be in the right frame of mind to watch it or something. Or
the thing is with a good zombie movie, there's two types of good zombie movies.
Zombieland was one of them, though.
I heard Zombieland was good.
It's a good movie.
I heard Zombieland was good.
It's obviously stupid, but it's a good movie.
A thing with a good zombie movie is it has to be over the top crazy gore, or it has to have some sort of message about humanity. Like the original Night of the Living Dead, there was a limited number of zombies that actually attack the people that are inside this house. It was all about the way that they react to the situation, and the fact that society is a certain way. I believe the original had it. I know that the the remake had it, where at the end, since the protagonist was a black male, he gets out of there, and then he gets shot, not because he's a zombie, but because fuck it, we don't care about black people. And it shows like the injustice in humanity. And
it's like
also,
the first black guy to survive a horror movie.
Yeah. It's almost like they started that trope, like they cursed the horror genre after then.
Yeah, it was like getting rid of Babe Ruth.
And you know what's funny? I didn't get that reference, and I laughed like I did.
Well, the curse of Babe Ruth. The Red Sox traded him to the Yankees, and that was said to be the curse. I want to say it was in 1919, and they had gone almost 90 years without winning a World Series, or like I think even really getting that close to it either.
Huh.
So it was said to be the curse of you traded the best fucking baseball player of all time, pretty much, to your rival.
One of the only things I know about Babe Ruth is that he is also called the Great Bambino.
The Sultan of SWAT.
Doesn't the Great Bambino mean like the great baby? Because he looks like he has a baby's head. Is that why?
I don't know where that particular nickname came from, or because his name wasn't actually Babe.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I can't say exactly where that nickname came from. But I always thought, to me, it reminded me of a magician. Like, he would go up, like in a tuxedo and a top hat to go at bat. Like, that's what I envision when I hear the Great Bambino up the bat or something. What I was going to say about zombies is that's the direction The Walking Dead is going in, is where it's more, like, social context or whatever, and how the people... Like, the zombies are, like, secondary to that show now. Like, they aren't even that much of a threat. Like, they just... see him walking around, they're like, all right, bam, shoot in the head or cut its head off and let's keep walking. And they almost are no threat to the actual humans of the show.
Yeah.
The humans are the threat to the other humans in that show.
Yeah, my family watches that show with the exception of me. And it's just because I'm like so over zombies. I don't know what it is.
I enjoyed it up until this current season, which I think is a half and half season, so they've done 6 episodes, I believe.
Oh, I hate
I think that's the point where we're in right now. And so the latest season, if I'm incorrect, then the previous season, I was losing my interest during that season, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I thought the first 2 were really good, even the third one was good, and then a little after that I'm like, all right.
And I'm sorry, but if you're going to release half seasons, they better be some good fucking episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
It's got to be exciting. That's why I don't even watch shows while they're on anymore. I feel like such like a stupid hipster in some way.
Same thing with just talking about like the commercials and how it breaks it up and everything. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a horror movie or anything that's supposed to be suspenseful and scary. Like right in the middle of something, it's like, and now I'm going to sell you baby diapers.
Yeah, it's like Dawn, Bright Sticks, happy fun time, Dawn. And then it goes back and it's like...
You forgot what was even happening. Yeah, you're just like, wait a minute. I was in an emotional state here that you just ripped me out of.
And then the problem for me is, like, I go beyond that. I don't watch it on DVR. I watch it when the show's, like, over. Because I can't wait till, like, I can't do end of the season cliffhangers, stuff like that. I can't wait till next week to watch that. Like, I want to just, like, I didn't watch Breaking Bad till it was over. And then we watched it, like, in, I want to say, like, a week. We watched the whole series.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how people were able to... Well, first of all, I want to say, that does define a show. Certain shows, if you can't watch them in a chunk, it's not a good show. Like, sometimes shows are just hinging on that week of suspense that gets built up where you're like, what's going to happen?
Well, that's how they get you to watch the next one.
Yeah, and Breaking Bad worked great for that. Every time I stopped watching, I was like, I really wanted to watch. But then when I watched it in chunks, it was still great. So it worked out very well.
I watched it. I didn't watch it from the beginning either. It was probably either up to the last or second to last season where I started watching it on Netflix. Same thing. I went through 3 or 4 seasons in like 3 weeks. It was one after one. It was like I was addicted to meth. Like that's what it felt like watching that, because it would be 4 a.m. I'm like, all right, gotta go to bed now. But the end of the episode is like, no, I gotta see what's happening next. And
exactly.
And it was right there, so you just go right into it.
There were so many nights where like my girlfriend didn't get enough sleep for work. Because, like, we would be like, just one more episode.
That's exactly what happened.
Enough times.
Exactly what happened. To where it's like your head hurts and, like, you're going to sleep, you're closing your eyes, but all you see is everything that you just kept seeing, the 4 or 5 episodes you just watched, and you just can't get it out of your head. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But in a good way. That's how you know it's such a fucking awesome show.
Yeah.
And since must have been right before the last season, because there was a stretch of time where I was caught up and the new season hadn't come out yet, so I was like, shit. So when the new season was about to get started, I was like, well, let me go back and, I'll watch episode 1 and then maybe I'll jump to episode 5, and just sort of for a freshener up. And it was so good that I just watched all 4 or 5 seasons again.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing that happened the first time. It's like 5 a.m. I know what's going to happen already, and I'm just so intrigued I have to watch another episode at 6.
Yeah, you can spot some nice stuff when you rewatch stuff, though. I
That's
like
yeah.
rewatching stuff, but at the same time, I love consuming more media.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword where I enjoy watching things that way because you can run right through it and there's nothing to distract you. But at the same time, I feel like, all right, I just watched 5 seasons in 3 weeks. By next week, I'm not even by next week, like the next day, I can't tell you what happened when, what's going on. Like, I feel like you miss a lot too. Because you're cramming so much of it into a condensed period of time.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, this was awesome, but I can't even tell you if that was season 3 or season 1 right now.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like, I don't even think I'd remember what happened last year from watching a show.
Well, that's where I'm at right now with Newsroom and what's the other one we just talked about, House of Cards. It's because they just haven't had another season yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, now when the next one comes out, I'm not even going to remember who the hell this
fuck
character is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the thing that sucks for me is, like, now I'm in a situation where I'll be like, hey, so you guys watch Cheers? I just watched Cheers. You want to talk about Cheers now?
I just watched
like
13 seasons of it.
Yeah, people are like, dude, I watched that, when that was on TV before Frasier came out. Like, and I'm like, I just caught up. Come on, talk to me about Cheers.
Yeah. Like, what, you don't remember these fucking 80s references?
Or you could end up like, I have a very good friend, well, 2 very good friends, and they're together. So you consider them that one friend unit. And they love Friends. They still watch Friends, like, religiously. So they'll endlessly refer to Friends like it's like in the zeitgeist still. And there's only certain things that you can refer to that, like, will never leave your mind, like saying, pivot or whatever. But, like, there's certain things that you're like, really? Right now you're referring to Friends?
And you're expecting me to get what the hell you're talking about? Yeah. There are episodes of that show that hold up. I catch it sometimes if it's randomly on. I've watched it. Seinfeld's still funny as shit.
Yeah, I love Seinfeld. Well, I think not that first season as much, but...
I can't tell you what season was what, but overall, good show. You know which one I really want to go back and actually watch all the way through is Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, that's a good show.
I've caught episodes here and there, and I like the ones I saw, but I didn't get to watch it as a whole, really.
That is a show that I caught it afterwards, watched it from, like, beginning to end, and I love that show.
I think my cousin has, like, all the seasons, too. I'm going to steal that shit from him.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, that he has.
That sounds like an ethnic insult.
I was just about to say, I'd be like, I'm pretty sure you just made a Jew joke there, but whatever.
I assume I know who you're talking about, so it wouldn't surprise me. He loves Larry David. And,
that cousin. Well, technically, most of my cousins should be Jewish then. In some way, like, whether practicing or not.
I guess that makes me Jewish, because I love Larry David.
But you know what? Since I have half brother, half sister, like, I have a splintered family, let's say. So yeah, I could have a side, and which I do. I have a side that's Jewish and a side that's not. Like, my brother's not Jewish at all.
Your other side is Italian, right?
Yeah.
And
mutt.
Which, as we all know, on Long Island, indistinguishable.
Oh yeah, Italian Jew is like pizza bagel. Like, that's that's so common.
It's all in just, the only way you could tell the difference is if you ask them to scream ma. It's just slightly different. It's like ma or it's ma.
Which, pretty funny. That's what I call my grandma. My grandmother is ma. So, which is weird too, because sometimes I say that and people think I mean my mom, like my mother, and I'm like,
it's funny. I call my grandma ma also. I think it might just be a Long Island thing, and then Long Island things are primarily Italian or Jewish things.
Yeah,
so.
I've noticed because I moved out of the state. I lived in Ohio for 3 years, and I lived upstate New York for a long period of my life as well. Long Island is definitely a bubble. Like, they are bubble people, especially and separated from the city. Like, city people are way different. So, like, just people that grew up in Long Island, like, it's just so weird. Like, one of my best friends, that is what she is, which she's gonna get on the podcast at some point. We're gonna Skype her in because she lives in Singapore now, and she's
wow.
lived in Switzerland for God knows how many years. She ended up marrying a guy from England, and they live in Singapore now. And she's been like everywhere. That's what her life is. Just going, traveling around, fucking Europe.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like I want to just travel, and I don't have I have too much plans for myself in like current stuff that I'm trying to accomplish, that traveling seems so unrealistic. Well, but I'm wondering when would I be able to do that?
I agree. And at one point I was like, fuck it, I can do it now, so let me just go do it. Sometimes that's what it is. With anything. Again, like the pilot episode of this podcast, which is still up, you convinced me to leave it up there. It was basically, the point of it was like, just start it. Like, whatever you're trying to do, like, just fucking start it. You want to travel? Okay, guess what? If you start planning it out, you can take a week off or whatever it is. Like, you can find that time and week and the money or whatever it is, and just put the wheels in motion, and you'll spend a week wherever you want to spend it.
Yeah, I tell this thing to my students, and people never believe you when you tell them this, is just like, the only way that you can do something is by doing it. You know? So if you think to yourself oh, I want to weld, but I don't know how to weld, fucking buy a welder. Learn how to weld. Go on YouTube. It's the year 2014. You can Google how to do anything.
There's something that I've seen. It was like an advertisement, but they'll teach you how to code for free.
Yeah,
it's not all free. You do have to pay for it eventually, but your first lesson's free. And
you can learn code for free. Code Academy or Khan Academy.
The particular one I saw wasn't that, but again, you can just YouTube pretty much anything, and you can learn whatever the fuck you want to learn. I went to this real estate thing yesterday, just for pretty much for shits and giggles, but it was pretty interesting. So I was like, you know what? I'll go to the next one. We'll find out about that too. But I actually planned my European travels based on where she lives. Huh. So that's how I made it to Italy and Switzerland. We went through France and stuff. Awesome time. Best trip almost ever. Which is a good thing my girlfriend doesn't listen to this, because I went to her with Ireland. That was a really good trip too.
I feel like I would have more fun going to
Well, I really want to go to Italy. My whole life I've wanted.
Yeah, I'd feel like I mean, the thing is, I love Italian food and stuff like that, which I know is drastically different in actual Italy.
But it's awesome.
They haven't heard of cheese. But mostly because I love art, and there's so much art history in Italy, and I would just love to see that.
But you'd love the Vatican.
Yeah, but then it also becomes a clusterfuck of all the people going to see it.
It's not as bad as you think.
Yeah? Yeah,
it's not like Times Square. Where you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta be in the middle of this shit. It's definitely not like that. Not when I was there, anyway. It was September-ish. End of September, I think, maybe. Or maybe it was sometime in September. I don't know when. So I don't know how that coincides with, if it's busy there during a different time of year or anything like that. But there was not an influx of people in the way, let's say.
They have, crazy laws there, because it's such a tourist area that they have serious laws about the people who can do tours, and they're constantly I had a professor who does abroad every year there. That sounds dirty. It's probably probably true, because that's
why he keeps going.
Yeah,
brings him back.
But he does an abroad program there every year, and yeah, he said that since he's showing his students around, he's constantly getting stopped and asked do you have a license to be a tour guide? Or people will just latch on to their group and start following them and listening to him, because he's super knowledgeable on every facet of art, and so he just people assume that he knows what he's doing. He's got black slicked back hair, and he wears a scarf, and people assume that he's a professional tour guide.
I do remember seeing those. It's cool too. They had the little radio thingy, so you could have an earpiece in, and they could talk into it.
Yeah, and I think
we
they also
do
have translation stuff. And
that would make sense. Yeah.
Because I know they have that at museums. You could just go around with headphones, and instead of getting a tour, they have it in Mandarin or whatever, and it'll tell you about everything.
The Coliseum is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. And what's really cool about it too is you got to take a couple from where we were. You take a couple subways. You get to the area and stuff, and you're just in the city, and everybody's doing their thing. They're driving their Vespas wildly, where you can't believe they survive every day. But everybody's going to work, doing this, whatever, and then you just turn the corner, and it's just fucking there. It's just this big fucking thing. It's just there, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow. And then you actually go up to it, and it's just more wow. Like, every little thing in it. I mean, obviously, it's, like, half fallen down and everything, but it was just an awesome sight. Daytime or nighttime. Nighttime, it's actually kind of lit up and stuff. They have, like, architectural lighting. And it's just really cool, yeah. And there are, like, other ruins in that area, too. And it's awesome to see, and then it's just how, like, everything around it, though, is just, it's like, they pass that shit every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, on their way to work, they pass that every single day.
And you know what? It's the same for us when we go into the city, you know. I am, like, I try to be fazed by the city. Like, a lot of people go in and they're like, oh, this is, you know, part of my state, and they don't really think about it as, like, one of, like, the craziest places in the world, you know? Like, so sometimes I just go and I soak it in, and I probably look like a tourist, and there's times where I go and I look like a tourist, and there's times where I go and I wear my hat, and I have to go somewhere, and I know where I'm going, and people ask me for directions, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, but, because I have the worst sense of direction. I've been now working this job in the Bronx since the beginning of September. I still use my GPS to get there every day. I only work there 2 days a week, so that's kind of a little bit more of my benefit.
My sense of direction is awesome on Long Island and in the city, and it kind of sucks everywhere else, I've noticed.
My sense of direction's only good on Long Island within the, you know, Nassau County area. I can kind of orient myself. And
for some reason, I cannot find my way around when I lived in Ohio. And it's really pretty fucking easy because...
Well, everything's huge. Like, everything's
so far away. It's literally almost only one road to get everywhere. And that's if you're outside of the city. I lived outside of Toledo. And in Toledo, it's a small fucking city. So you think it'd be pretty easy to navigate. But they had one of those, like, highways that goes, like, around the whole city.
Yeah.
So all the exits off of it, you're not sure, like, am I going east? Do I need to go east on this? Or, like... It's like at some point it's technically north. How come? I don't know. I don't understand where the fuck I'm gonna go.
Somehow we managed to get back to art. Toledo Museum, such a great museum. They have so much amazing art there, and it's crazy because you go outside and you go like a block away, and you're like, gotta roll up the windows.
Yes.
gotta lock the doors.
Yes. Speaking of windows, Glass City. That's what their industry was. Like they
really?
made like all the glass in the world pretty much.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's so weird. Like Toledo, Detroit, like these cities that were like, you know, in the top of the industry of what they produced, and then when it just either gets, you know, other people figure out how to make it elsewhere for cheaper or whatever it is, like how it just kills the fucking city.
Yeah.
You know? Like how you could have that many people working in it, and then when that company decides like, all right, we're gonna go somewhere else, or we're going out of business because it's happening somewhere else. And then it just decimates the fucking city. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're lucky over here that the people that worked for Grumman had, like, the city to go to and Hempstead to go to get jobs, because when Grumman started, like, not getting all the contracts for the government, they started, you know, kind of getting rid of jobs, and people had to relocate to, like, the city and stuff like that.
That's where my grandfather worked.
Yeah.
I don't know for how long, and I believe he retired before all that stuff happened. But he did work there. He was an engineer there and stuff.
My girlfriend's grandfather worked on the lunar module. My girlfriend's dad works in inspecting planes. Yeah, like I think they have a lot of people in their family that worked for Grumman, and I know I have people in my family that worked for Grumman as well.
Back to actually what you said about the casting director. I just thought of this. I was actually meant to say it then. And then we go off on tangents about, like, you know, having to pick the hot girl.
Yeah. And
how creepy that is. I just listened to a Louis C.K. skit from Pandora. Pandora's awesome for that.
Like, yeah, they have comedy. It
sucks that it repeats the same shit all the time, pretty much. But this was not a new one, but one that I hadn't heard before. But he actually had the same concept where he was talking about watching Schindler's List, and there's a part where there's like an 8-year-old girl that says goodbye Jews, like, yeah, and he deconstructed it the same way, where he was like you know that somewhere there's a tape of like 50 girls just yelling that out, and that they had to pick the one that nailed it that way.
And like the, you know, he was talking about how those people are still like actresses and like so like they still come in and do their whole actress like spiel for the time and like I thought that was a good sketch. I love Louis C.K.
Oh, he's so funny, yeah. He's really hilarious.
His show though is really funny, but oh man, it really depresses me.
Yeah,
as a show I cannot watch the whole thing from beginning to end.
It's on my queue because I want to watch it that way. I did watch it when it first came on, and I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to be at the same place at the same time every week. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So none of that works for me, watching a show when it's actually being aired. But it is in my queue to go back. The unfortunate thing is that there's about 480 other things in my queue, so I'm probably never going to get around to actually watching everything in it. I just glance through, I'm like, yeah, add that to my list. Yeah, add that. Yeah, I'll get to that at some point. Add that shit.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten out of hand.
That, I was saying earlier that I downloaded these comedy movies from the 60s to watch, and...
legally.
Yeah, I downloaded them legally. Mojo, or Ask Mojo? I forget what it's called. They do these top 10 mostly movies lists, and I watch them all the time, and I go, oh, I haven't seen that. It's in someone's top 10, so I download it, or I'll legally purchase it, and I'll make sure to watch it. And
there wasn't supposed to be an or there. You're supposed to say, I download it after I legally purchased it.
Yeah, I download it for legal purchase. Actually, right now I am doing. Often the movies I download are legally downloaded, but right now I'm illegally downloading, or I just finished illegally downloading The Big Lebowski, which I own on DVD.
Which I think it's okay if you own it.
Yeah, but I don't have it in 720p, so I want to watch it on my TV. And but where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, so I download all these movies to watch, and I tell people that in the hopes that I'll be forced to watch them. Because the thing is, I have 500 other movies right now that I'm looking to watch, and I need to get either enough people or enough pressure from those people to watch those movies in order to really watch them.
I have a feeling though, nobody's gonna see you a week later and be like, "Yo, so did you watch that movie from the '60s yet?
Yeah,
did you enjoy it? Like,
you really enjoyed that Peter Sellers comedy, didn't you?" But that's the thing is, I had a professor who he loved Peter Sellers, and I tried watching one of his movies, and I was so underwhelmed by how unfunny it was. And I can't remember the name of the movie, but he plays like a gardener who becomes like someone important. I don't really remember, but the beginning of it was just so dry, and I couldn't get into it. And then I saw him in the Kubrick film, Dr. Strangelove, yes, and How I Learned How to Love the Bomb, or whatever it's called. And he was great. He was great. He played the Nazi scientist, and he also plays the British intelligence officer. And he plays them both as two very different characters, and they both are just so physically funny that when I saw these Peter Sellers movies that are supposedly his best, I was like, all right, I'll download them. I wasn't a big fan of the Pink Panther, because like that, I just feel like that's an older type of comedy. There's certain things I don't get.
Exactly.
I think also there's certain things that they don't get. Like back then, very effeminate men were like these awesome lifetime bachelors. So like there's this very effeminate man who's like very old, and they're like, oh, he's such a sexy lifetime bachelor. And like I'm thinking to myself, no, that's what gay men were at the time. You seem like you were this lifetime bachelor because you could never be open about the relationship you were in.
And there's that, they play into that in Mad Men as well.
Oh yeah?
There's a few in the closet gay and lesbian people. Yeah. Actually, I think the lesbian was pretty much out in the open about it.
Oh really?
But, yeah.
That was a big thing back then, unfortunately, was just being like, no, he's just a cool dude. Can't tie him down. Yeah. And honestly, unfortunately, it still is a thing today. I know the comedian Todd Glass, he was closeted for so long. Really? Yeah, and he only recently came out on Mark Maron's podcast. And,
I did not know that. And I've seen him. Like I've seen some of his act and some of his skits. Some of that stuff I've seen, like, I guess, wasn't my type, I guess.
He's a little high-powered sometimes.
Yeah, I think a little over the top for the situation at times, let's say. I haven't really listened to, like, an actual stand-up of him. It's more like skits that he's done on other people's shows. Yeah. So it's probably not the best way to judge it. But But never once was I like, oh, he might be gay.
Yeah,
you know?
and that was the thing about him. And then he also...
It's kind of weird because, I don't know if we talked about this already, but through the miracle of modern technology and Facebook and stuff, I'm friends with like people that I went to grade school with, and it's crazy how then you knew, like, pretty sure I didn't know what a gay guy was in like 3rd grade, but there are a few kids who I'm like, as the years went along, I'm like, oh, that kid was probably gay. Yeah. And then I see there's like 3 or 4 of them that are, they're out and they're living their life and they're gay, and I was like, oh yeah, I knew that when we were 7. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Which is so odd.
You know what? It's great. I love it. I love that these people are like so... We live in a world where they can be so comfortable with themselves that they can put that out there.
Yeah, no, it's worried, obviously a great thing. Yeah, but it's just so weird that you can like... That you just tell that at such an early age.
Yeah, some people you can just pin it.
And then when you're talking about him, I was like genuinely shocked. I'm like, really? No clue that he might have been gay.
Yeah, and I think part of it is he kind of... And, now that you know, you'll hear him in some things, and you'll be like, okay, he's got sort of a... I'm not saying all gay people have like an effeminate voice or whatever, but there are certain things that are gay, like homosexual tendencies that he kind of come through. And which I should say, while I'm explaining this, I'm like flailing my arms around like Robin Williams in the Birdcage, like these homosexual.
I was like, keep talking about these homosexual tendencies, why don't you?
And yeah.
What do you know about him?
Like sucking on penises. I'm just, but yeah, and yeah, he's
like amazing. He did that in the middle of a stand-up, but never came out of the closet though. He kept it a good secret.
But that is a thing. Like in his stand-up, he would have a joke where he was talking about with his girlfriend and stuff like that. And still, I think on his podcast, he still doesn't feel comfortable saying like my boyfriend. Like he'll say like my roommate and stuff like that. And then he'll make fun of himself for saying that because that's such like a Paul Lynde thing to say, like, oh, my roommate.
A friend of mine has a friend that has that type of situation. He's come out now, but again, it was somebody that they've been friends with since 10 years old or whatever, or something like that. Like they've been friends forever. They've known the kid has been gay since then, pretty much, and but he's lived with a roommate for however many years.
Yeah, some people are just afraid,
But then he finally did. I think it was when they broke up, actually, which is weird.
He had to confide in someone, like he's going through a horrible time in his life. I just broke up with Loretta. You never met her, but like.
It's weird how I'd like to be in their head at the point where
you love to love men. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. I really would like to know what that's like. No, but we're talking how for some people it's real kind of easy to tell. And you've seen like the letters, like the viral letters that go around where like the kid comes out to their parents and the parents are like, "Yeah, I've known you were gay since you were 8. It's cool. Are you gonna be home for dinner?" Yeah. like it's totally not a big deal or whatever. But it's weird to like kind of think how they view it from the outside, if they do, like if they can see it that way at all, like because some people are so closeted or like keep it such a secret and they're so afraid of it. But they obviously, I guess, don't see how everybody kind of already knows.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a fear of when people confirm their suspicions, what are they going to do? Or, I can't get into their head, but, it's like it's just got to be something shitty to really have to live with. Like,
because it's because your perception of reality has to be really almost skewed, like really skewed then, So how does it affect other things that are going on in your life?
But at the same time, how accurate is your perception of yourself? Like in my head, I'm the coolest motherfucker.
Yeah, like motherfucking Brad Pitt.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure this is a room with Brad Pitt and Samuel L. Jackson right now, just hanging out. And for all I know, I actually am more similar to the main character in Revenge of the Nerds. So who knows?
Well, they're like I've said before, I hate the way my voice sounds. So when I hear it recorded, it doesn't, to me, I'm like, there's no way I can sound like that because I don't perceive myself to sound like that. And most people don't, Yeah,
that's like a law. Like, because you're vibrating the inside of your head.
Yeah. So I listen to myself and I'm like, whoa, that kind of changes almost how I say everything because if it sounds that way when I say certain things, it's like what? It's like my whole life is a lie.
Yeah, if you listen to these podcasts before you made them, you'd be like, "Yo, what up? This is DJ Tracktion."
Yeah, I need the. And there was a point where it's like, oh, can I make a conscious effort to talk a different way?
Yeah.
And I can't. There's no way.
There was a day where every customer that I had to deal with, I spoke like Sam Elliott. And I actually, there were some people who were enjoying it a little bit too much, me talking like Sam Elliott, because, he's, for people who don't know, he's, he's the narrator in The Big Lebowski, and he's in a lot of westerns and stuff, but he has that very low voice, and something about it, very soothing.
It is believable out of your face, though. I gotta say.
And I think it's because people don't expect me to have such a effeminate, silly voice. I think my voice, especially it's one of those things where you listen to your voice and you hear it and you're like, that's way higher than I was expecting.
I just want to let everyone know that, again, as he said, talking about his feminine voice, his hand his wrist got a little, not firm.
I have very flaccid wrists.
There's also, I saw something that said that, like, most people, if they were given, like, a lineup of faces, they couldn't pick their self out. Like, because I guess again, just the perception of what they think they look like.
I wonder how true that is. So what do? They get one picture and then they
I'm not sure how they do it.
Morph it into other things. Because like they had that Dove campaign or whatever, and where like they had a police sketch artist draw what you think you look like, and then a picture of him actually drawing you, and I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like Could you even describe the way you think you look? Like, especially if you're not an artistic person at all. Like, I have no idea how to describe my nose. You know what I'm saying? No, not a clue. And he might draw it however I say it, but I don't know what that might look like after he draws it. I'd be like, really? Is that what I said? Because that's not really the shape I was trying to describe to you.
And the thing is with police sketch artists is, one, they're extremely infallible. Not just because of the nature of it, but because of the nature of memory.
Exactly.
And two, police sketch artists actually don't work like that. They wouldn't work with your back to the back of the artwork while they, rendered away and then showed you this final drawing. They would go, okay, so does that look right to you? Okay, so tell me, like... But I guess I see the point of what they're doing, but Cracked recently, actually, I think they posted this morning, which for everyone at home is... You can do the math. Where they're basically saying, these advertisers basically think that you're like a complete fucking moron. And they put it so much better than I do. But
it's just like, I mean, you can see it in the way like those ads pop up now. Like if you Google something, or if you actually search for something on Best Buy or whatever, and then like you're on Facebook or wherever you're on afterwards, the ad will come up for the same thing that you were looking for.
Yeah.
But it's so stupid because the ad will come up even after you bought the thing. So it's like, no, I don't need a 2 terabyte hard drive again, because I just fucking ordered that shit 3 days ago. So stop showing me the same fucking one.
Yeah, they should have something like more sophisticated in there where like if it's something you'll need to refill at some point.
It should really just not have fucking anything, because I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like that's what keeps a lot of websites in business.
Go on shoesforcruise.com. If you don't know what we're talking about, go on shoesforcruise.com. Go, click around on there. Maybe look at a shoe. And then go to YouTube and tell me what the sidebar ad is. And I will, or maybe, like imgur.com or something, and see what the sidebar ad is. And it's going to be Shoes for Cruise. Same thing with, what is it? American Apparel is the clothing company where you can see people's nipples. American Apparel. If you go to their website,
you can also see fucking boners through the men's pants photos too and stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny because
so they pointed out.
I have an interesting view on American Apparel because I don't consider sexuality to be like taboo like other people do. I was raised that violence is more taboo than sexuality, and in all reality, that should be true because we need to have sex. We technically don't need to be violent, and so. I don't think it's as like crazy as people do, and people also go on like, oh, they're they're subjugating these women or whatever, or they're objectifying them, and supposedly that one main guy who works for American Apparel was like a total piece of shit, but I don't feel as though what they're doing is objectifying women, and I feel as though they actually have a more broad and accepting view of what women could look like as compared to, like, you know, a Victoria's Secret or something like that. Where Victoria's Secret, you're going to see these very, you know, Roman-esque beautiful women or whatever, where on American Apparel you'll see people who, like, maybe in high school you would have been like, oh yeah, she's pretty hot.
Yeah,
but, like, you would never
of
see them be a
that,
model.
Here's the latest one that because they're always in some type of controversy for their ads.
And they love it.
I don't know if you saw the latest one.
Oh, wow.
But it was a back-to-school ad. And they've gotten on the fire for that. Because obviously, it's like a Catholic high school, basically.
Yeah.
And it's basically an upshot of her skirt to the panties and everything. And that's the ad that they put up.
So I'm going to retract my statement. But I do think that there is a whole weird culture about like schoolgirls and how that's like an acceptable fetish that is like really rooted in really just sick shit.
You know what? But really, what is it? It's like, in essence, it's just a girl in a skirt.
Yeah, but like usually, like if you watch the actual like videos, you know, like it's usually
they act younger, like supposed to be like acting underage, and
they're like with like a teacher, and like, you know, they're never gonna say like, well, not never, but they don't often say like, oh, Professor so and so. It's usually like Mr. so and so, which kind of puts it more in a situation of like high school teachers, and yeah, I think it's just the whole thing.
I mean, but then again, I look at Britney Spears' first video.
Yeah, but you know what?
And she looked young, and I think she was 16 at that time.
Yeah, I think she was 16, but that goes back to one of those things where she didn't direct that video.
I know, but
some grown-ass man had to go, yeah, I think it'll be a real good idea if we put her in, let's put some pigtails up there and give her a real short skirt, and how about the dance is a little shimmy? Yeah, like, and for me, it was great, because at the time, I was like 14 or whatever.
Exactly.
And I was like,
You're like, oh, that's awesome. But you're not think of it in the same terms. It's all that perspective again.
Yeah, in retrospect, like a 40-year-old man probably directed that video, and like, yeah.
Well, even if they didn't, even if it was like a 20-something that directed it, the 40-year-old okayed it. It was like, yep, that's the one we'll go with.
Yeah.
Let's send this to MTV.
Yeah, let's go sexualize this young girl, and...
And then another weird thing is, like, then you have the parents that are like, they're just in a weird position, I think. Like, they just are. Because nobody thinks, like, wants to put their kid in that position, I'm going to assume. But when it's happening, I don't know if you're looking at it the same way. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you're seeing it the same way.
I mean,
if you're in the middle of it. There
is a subsection of those people who are thrusting their child into fame.
Well, yeah, some of them are pieces of shit.
And they don't care, and they do actually abuse their children.
Well, I almost think all of them in that little, like the little beauty pageant things.
That makes me so sick.
Oh my god, exactly, yo. It's like, because that's even worse than the schoolgirl type of fetish thing. Because it's like, yo, you're dressing up these fucking 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds and shit, and sometimes maybe even younger sometimes. I don't even want to talk about it, actually. It's so fucking
it really makes
disgusting.
Me,
yeah.
But yeah, what were we saying before that?
Well, I had brought up, funny that you said it, because I was trying to Google the experiment where they were like,
identify themselves?
Yeah, and they couldn't, and then you had mentioned Cracked, and the one that I clicked on was from Cracked. It was from like 2011.
I love Cracked. They're so great.
And the link isn't live anymore, so it doesn't go to the actual experiment. But they're talking about one that the whole article is like 5 ways that you misinterpret yourself, basically. So number 3 is, well, we have no idea how attractive we are or aren't. And they said that scientists took pictures of a group of experiment subjects, which would be people, and then they altered them in various ways through Photoshop, and they created 11 versions of each photo. Some had been drastically photoshopped to make them more attractive, some less attractive, and then they left one unchanged. And they showed the photos to all the participants, and they asked them, which was the one that we didn't touch, basically, which is an unaltered one. And
I'm sorry, I just like how you specified humans. I'm imagining this whole thing being done with lab rats.
But it's so weird, because to me, I'm like, we're reading something on a subject that is not... The whole article is kind of rather silly, so it's like you just use that term experiment subjects.
Yeah.
Like it is like we're testing fucking the Ebola vaccine on monkeys right now. It's just like they took pictures of a group of people.
Yeah,
that's what they did. So just say that. and time again, they were bad at finding the unaltered photo. It doesn't say what actual... Oh, wait, maybe it does have a percentage here.
You know, I have to be honest. I have...
No percentage, but...
I have actually done that before, and the thing is, you said your girlfriend doesn't listen to this podcast. My girlfriend actually does.
I'm assuming she hasn't yet. I'm not saying it's not because she's an unsupportive girlfriend. She's awesome.
It's because she wants a backlog to listen to, and
it's because she doesn't really listen to podcasts to begin with. I've tried to get her to listen to other ones.
She already hates your voice as well.
Yeah, exactly. So. She actually she gets mad at me when I play the ones I listen to in the car sometimes. Like she doesn't really just appreciate it the way I do, I guess. And I do feel like they're centered, like you have to find something that you're interested in to listen to it, you know?
Yeah.
So I get that. So it's just not her thing, really. But
say,
yeah, go on. Because now I have no idea what I was going to say after that. And neither do you, so this is great.
Yeah, this is perfect.
So I'm glad that she doesn't listen to this and can listen to me act like a bumbling idiot right now.
So my girlfriend does listen to this, and
shout out to your girlfriend though. I like her.
Yeah, she's really great. Not really. I'm just kidding. I'm probably gonna get a hit now. But I actually have to do the same thing. Like I make because we're adorable. For our anniversaries, I'll make artwork for her, and it'll have both of us in it. And I've literally had to change her face because I know for a fact that she doesn't perceive herself to look that way, and that if I just put it like how it is, it's going to not look right to her.
It's like, this is not going to be a fun, cute present. This is going to be an argument.
Yeah. So you have to like think back to like, oh, she says she likes this Facebook picture of her, and she likes this Facebook picture of her. So what this is doing. And what's funny is so many people think like, oh, I'm hideous because they know best what they look like through phone selfies. Which phone selfies, if you think about it, are from like the smallest like lens that you could use going out to your face. So like whatever's protruding out of your face is going to look gigantic. So it's like almost as if an ant was looking at you, or like you're looking at a building. Like the building looks like it's kind of receding off into the distance. Your face does the same thing. And so your nose might be slightly big, and then it seems humongous because like the camera is centered there. And you can actually see studies where they use different lenses, and this person's face like completely changes.
I feel though that some like those pictures though, since even though like phone cameras gotten way better in quality, that they're still rather low quality.
Yeah.
So it would kind of make you look better. Like you should actually think you look better in those pictures than if somebody took it with a $5,000 Nikon or some shit that had a $5,000 lens on it as well. That's untouched. Because I've seen I've had both of them done where it's like, all right, obviously I'm in a lot of cell phone pictures, but I'm also, since I DJ a lot of weddings, I'm in a lot of weddings with professional photographers that are really good at what they do with really high quality pictures, and I feel like I look worse in those pictures.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like the stubble doesn't pick up or whatever, and like you just like.
Or I think those, the professional ones pick up more of the quote unquote imperfections, you know, and you're like, oh shit, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I saw these pictures.
That's why when you give the bride her pictures, you have to run a filter through it. A little de-speckle, get rid of some
It's so amazing, too, how, like, sometimes you go through, like, someone's Facebook pictures or something, and, like, some of them, you're like, oh, wow, this girl's really hot. And then some of them, you're like, wait, is this the same fucking girl?
Yeah.
Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And they're all taken with a phone, you know? It's, like, it's obvious that they're all taken the same way or whatever. Like, and it's just whatever it is, whether it's makeup that day or just the light and sunlight that day, whatever it is, it can be something so different, but that makes the person look like a completely different person.
Also, just generally what pictures you untag yourself in. Some people they're like, oh, I look horrible in this picture, untag.
Yeah.
And
I think that's so weird, too, and chicks are really big on that, where like, no, you gotta delete that shit right away. It's like, but it's fucking you, yo, alright? Like, what are you trying to hide? Like, guess what? If this picture got that part of you, another one's gonna someday too.
Yeah.
Or it already has, and you missed it, and somebody else is interpreting it the same way that you just did this one.
I untag myself in anything that has like something that could be construed as inappropriate. So I don't have pictures of me drinking. I don't have pictures of me maybe doing other things other than drinking. And yeah, I've actually gotten a little bit of a problem from people who have asked to untag me and stuff, and they kind of...
But you can just do it yourself. You don't have to ask anyone.
Yeah, but then, or like I'll ask them to like take it down because like, okay,
Alright.
so say I'm in a picture with 8 people, we're all drinking, and 3 of those people have public profiles. So now when you click on my Facebook, that picture will show up because that's a public, image. So yeah, I don't like running that risk that like someone's gonna be like, oh, let me look at this freelance artist or this teacher that I'm hiring, and then it's like pictures of me.
I can understand for teacher. I
Drinking
can definitely
24s
understand that.
under the bleachers when I was in high school.
But for artists, it's like, well, I feel like you want your artist to just be a person. That's what people do. It would be different.
Reliable too,
it'd be different if it's a picture that you're tagged in with like fucking needle in your arm. You'd be like, I don't really think I want to hire that artist.
Which just that is not my bag, baby.
Although there have been a lot of great artists that were heroin addicts.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a horrible problem, and something that's become like a very real problem where
on the island. Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is because of prescription pills.
It almost all is.
Yeah.
Like the majority of it is, and it's from. I know even just the town next to where we are right now has had a real big problem with it, and a lot of it stems from kids getting prescriptions, and not even like getting their hands on them illegally, although that happens a lot. But if like they broke an arm or something like that, they would get Oxycontin and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when that runs out, I mean, it all hits on the same receptors and stuff, and then it was easier for them to get heroin and cheaper than to go find Oxycontin.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy, just the amount of people that that, and it's almost become a thing on the island where it's like so casual and like accepted by so many people that people talk about it freely, and like I have to give them this look like, you're making me very uncomfortable right now because I am not down with, with like opiates and stuff like that, At the same time, I do think that we don't have a lot of facilities for people to get help here.
That's the problem with all our drug laws in general.
Yeah.
It's like they don't view it as something to help. They just view it as a crime. And so like, all right, we're going to put you in jail and that's going to cure you of your addiction or something. Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
And the thing is, there are programs that people use and, that people swear by that often focus around religion, which is a problem for some people because some people just completely don't buy into that stuff. And, but I think a lot of it comes down to, they treat you like you're a criminal when in all reality, you're a person that might have like a mental disorder. You might be depressed, and instead of just killing yourself in one step, you're doing it slowly because you feel like no one cares about your existence. And like, it's like crazy that like they just treat them like they're fucking drug addicted assholes and like they're criminals.
And it's weird that it never goes back to like the doctor is like, well, why did you prescribe this fucking 12-year-old fucking Oxycontins for a sprained wrist or whatever it might have been?
Or like, even people actually swear that Ritalin is like stronger drug than cocaine. Like that people getting off of cocaine get Ritalin, they get like the same high from it, and that they,
It's funny, we were just talking about Nick Swartzen before, and this Pandora stand-up. One that came on today was when he talked about he quit smoking, and he was like, one of his friends came up to me and was like, yeah, like, you doing all right with that? Like, I heard it's harder than quitting heroin. And he was like, I had no idea, so I started doing heroin. I was like, no, it's not. It's not. It was way easier to quit smoking. He's like,
I think that's one of those, like, people definitely say that, and it's definitely like two completely different bags where, you have like an entire network and world of support if you're trying to quit smoking cigarettes. Not if you're quitting heroin.
There are way more options for you to more easily and readily quit smoking. But
the thing is with that,
and way more people smoke cigarettes than do heroin.
Well, so that's where it comes down to, is that like you're never going to be walking down the road and you're like trying not to relapse. You'll be like, hey man, can I hit that needle? And then even if you could, that person probably wouldn't be like, hell yeah, bro. They'd be like, no, man, I paid for this shit. This is mine. So, like, but, I know tons of people that they quit smoking cigarettes, they get drunk, they ask someone at a club or whatever, oh, can I get a cigarette? And then they wake up and they look in their pocket, they have a pack. And for me, first of all, that's not a fucking excuse. Throw out that pack, start over.
Yeah.
Do your fucking job. But I'm also a person who smoked from...
But, that might be harder for me, even though I never smoked cigarettes, but being half Jewish, I'm like, I did buy this pack. I shouldn't really waste it. Just throwing it out would be, I don't know if I could do that.
For me, I smoked from... I smoked from when I was 13 to probably when I want to say till I was 20. I remember it was like pretty much
13.
Yeah, 13. Damn. And I was a wayward soul. And and so I remember I stopped around the time that it was kind of legal for me, because I actually, when I was 18,
so
they made
you're not
it
a rebel
19.
anymore.
Yeah,
You're like, oh,
yeah, right.
I'm allowed to do this? Fuck this shit.
When I was 18, they made it 19. So I had a period of time where I wasn't able to.
Very cruel.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And then by the time I actually could buy them, I kind of stopped smoking. And I quit cold turkey, and I said, fuck it. Like, if I start smoking again, everybody just demean me. Because in all reality, you're basically saying, like, I am a slave to this fucking stick. This stupid stick of tobacco, I am a slave to it, and, whatever it needs me to do, I'll do it.
I'm this little bitch.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, people, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but people outrage about not getting their cigarette breaks and stuff, and it's like, but I don't get a fucking break.
Yeah, that was always a weird one for me too.
Can I get like some extra just like jogging breaks?
I'm gonna just tell people I smoke just so I can go out.
Right? And there's actually people who have done that.
Yeah,
who picked up
I would
smoking
too.
just so that
I wouldn't actually pick up smoking, but I would just pretend I did. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I need my smoke break too.
And you know what?
But then again, I wouldn't want to stand outside with all of them anyway. I'd have to take my smoke break like in the car or something.
Yeah. I remember when I worked at Gadgets and Gizmos, which for people that aren't, I don't think that's a big chain, right? It's basically...
I think it's mall-based, but I don't know if it's like on the West Coast. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's basically like a Spencer's Gifts, which I also don't know is on the West Coast. So it's like a novelty store where they'll sell like... like
that fish that sings that danced around in The Sopranos, like shit like that.
Yeah, and they also sell like pot related stuff, and, funny dildos.
I was gonna say tobacco smoking accessories.
Yeah, tobacco smoking accessories. I was running a funny skit through my head the other day about like someone who actually thought that was for tobacco, and they wanted to moderate like how much they smoke cigarettes. So they're trying to cut down, like they just whip out a bowl and start smoking a bowl, and they're like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just."
Actually put tobacco in it.
Yeah, I'm trying to wean off of smoking. What? Like, it's like...
Instead of a whole cigarette, I just take 2 hits.
Yeah, it's called a tobacco water pipe, isn't it? But yeah, and when I used to work there, I even remember I smoked cigarettes then, and I said to the guy, like, can I just make my one break into, like, 2 or 3 short breaks? Like, so I wasn't taking advantage of a system.
So I don't start fucking scratching my neck while I'm ringing up customers.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it really is.
We started? Yeah, I think we started again. Alright, sweet. Yeah, remember I said we don't edit this shit? I'm about to edit the fuck out of this shit. So
I don't even remember what I was actually saying. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's okay, we can edit past all this too.
Yeah.
I can just start back up whenever we decide we know what we're talking about again.
Yeah, shit.
So edit. I can just keep saying that. Oh man, I'm gonna have fun with this one.
No, what were we just saying though? Since we can just be silent now.
Tobacco break, split them up into 3 breaks.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I even had that like that respect of like no one else is getting these extra breaks. But yeah, it really is like to the extent like you were saying, like where they start scratching their necks and stuff, like you really do become completely irrational about your addiction to cigarettes, but it's completely accepted. So like it's like such a weird thing that like you're like a crackhead basically.
You know what's that was a big thing that they kind of tackled in Mad Men as well, because like one of the big clients was for whatever cigarette it was, and then this is around the time when the research just started coming out, like, oh, maybe this isn't healthy for you at all, and their job is to create ads to like circumvent that basically, so it was pretty interesting from that perspective. And now you have it where it's accepted that these are going to kill you. If you keep doing this, you're going to die of some pretty horrible disease that's not going to be very uncomfortable. I can't stand, I don't know, I think it's just a New York thing, because I think it's like for the New York Help Quit hotline, but the commercials that they show for that shit
such
are
gore porn.
Fucking disgusting. And they always show it like at 6 o'clock, 6:30, like right when I'm fucking eating dinner. I got this fucking 80-year-old guy with half an arm coughing up God knows what disgusting... I don't even want to know what it would look like when it finally came out.
Yeah.
It's like... I can only imagine it's something like out of The Exorcist or whatever. Like, I don't know if you saw Jason Goes to Hell, I think it was, but that little thing that started crawling around at the end, that's what it sounds like this guy is coughing up.
Oh, man.
And it goes on for like 3 minutes. And you're just like, oh, it's like, that's not going to scare, you don't understand the problem if you think that commercial's going to help.
Yeah.
That's not going to scare, you can't scare an addiction from somebody, out of somebody.
And then also, the percentage of people that are addicted to smoking cigarettes as compared to the percentage of people who are just sitting there now grossed out by this commercial. Like, I had one time, I was at the local bar watching a sport game. And
I have no idea why you just said it like that, but continue.
Because I don't actually watch sports. So I think it was like a friend was in town and we went to Miller's Ale House and to get like cheap beer, and it happened to be like an actual game on, because the only thing that I actually watch is like mixed martial arts. I don't watch any actual like sports.
Well, that's a real man sport, so it's acceptable.
Yeah,
that's the only one you watch.
I consider that to be like a real, like, otherwise you're just watching grown men play games. You know, like that's really like a real like show of skill, or a show of, you know, how little you've been beat up previously. Because I feel like there is kind of like,
there's a point of diminishing returns for getting hit in the head. Without a doubt.
I really feel like you know, I was a big fan of BJ Penn, and I feel like his last fights, that wasn't the same guy. He was like...
You know what? I just think his situation was a little different because he hadn't really been knocked out like that. I think a better example for that would be Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Who, after Rashad Evans shut him off, it was over for him. Like,
yeah,
it was very easy. Like, people, like, if you could, like, scratch him on the chin and he would just fucking go out.
And then the thing is, also, people don't realize, like, you know, these are people who end up becoming less intelligent people because they get beat up. And a lot of times they start off as less intelligent people, and that's how they got so great at fighting, was because they had no other ability. But these are all actually, like, for the most part, super smart people. Like, they have to be able to, like, you have to be able to think on the spot. And that's such a huge part of doing that, is thinking on the spot and knowing exactly what to do at the time. And, you know, people watch at home and they go like, oh, he should be doing this, but it's so easy to do that when you're not.
Yeah, when you're not in it,
you know,
it's terrible.
And you know, so these are really intelligent people that are really using their brain a lot over their gut, and you know, you get your brain rattled around enough times, you don't use it as quickly.
Those neurons aren't gonna fire the same way that they used to. But yeah, like, jiu-jitsu is definitely a chess game. Like, if you're just doing jiu-jitsu, like, you do have, there is a definitely intelligence that it takes to get really good at that. That's why, I mean, you know, if you took like taekwondo as a kid or whatever it was, you can get to your black belt in like, whatever, 4 years or something like that. Like, every 6 months you take a test, you're promoted. Yeah, it's like in jiu-jitsu, the average is 10 to like 13. Like, 10 would be good. If you got your black belt in 10 years, that's a pretty fast track almost. It's like more around 13. You know, like, it takes a lot of time and dedication.
Yeah, and that's
because there's so many intricacies to it to really be a master at it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that if you don't understand the complexity that goes into a grappling sport, when you watch those parts of UFC where they're like down on the ground and they're in like a arm bar, and you're like, why aren't they doing this? You're not thinking that. You're not thinking, okay, I have another arm, I'm going to use this to pummel him so he'll stop. You're thinking, all right, what can I do to counteract this? Because if I don't counteract this,
my arm is going to be taken off.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's crazy, and how much just, all of it's just, well, it becomes muscle memory at a point, but it's all in understanding the body and how to, you know, leverage it against itself.
It's so much work to put into that point where it's just a little more automatic. Which is funny, I just actually started rolling again. We're talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he's doing lots of ecstasy again.
Yeah, no ecstasy. I just started Tuesday. For the first time in probably... First formal training of it again, probably at least a year. Maybe a little longer. Like, here and there, I'd roll with, like, a friend, you know, helping him train and stuff. But it was, like, once or twice, maybe 3 times in that year. So, it was my first actually... going to class again and then rolling live and stuff, and I'm sore as fuck.
Oh yeah,
everywhere. Like, it is and I knew it was gonna happen because there was a time where I never knew anything about jiu-jitsu, and my first day I was like, okay, I can't walk for this week. This sucks, because every little thing, it's parts of your muscles that you didn't even know that there were muscles there to be used. Like, that was the first time, when I first started jiu-jitsu, was the first time my foot ever cramped. I didn't know that was possible. I had no idea what was happening. I thought, like, my toe was about to fall off. Like, and I legitimately got scared. Like, I was scared. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and now it's all happening again. And it's weird, too, because for the last, I guess, 3 months, I've been getting there consistently again training, but it was all stand-up. I've been doing Muay Thai, a lot of cardio training, because my cardio is garbage now. So I'm trying to get that back up. And I felt good enough where I'm like, all right, let's go back to rolling again. And it's just, and knowing it going into it, but still surprised with just all the different parts that you're using.
Yeah.
You know, they're both combat sports, but you're using so many different, just, I guess, in the techniques and everything, and just the way that your body's positioned. And
just the way you're using your muscles. I mean, when you throw, like, a punch or a kick, you're, like, opening and closing the muscles as opposed to, like, using them. And there's it's kind of weird how, like, that's kind of distinctly different. You're really just throwing your limbs around in the best way possible. Whereas in, like, a grappling sport, you're really, like, using those limbs in, like, the best way you can possibly use them, and which sounds exactly the same.
Well, you gotta, but it's you're not just flaying around. You gotta hold positions. You gotta use it for leverage. You're getting that pressure being put back onto you and stuff. So there's a lot of body weight stuff going on.
What do you do for cardio? Because you were saying that you've been trying to up your cardio.
Well,
do you do ropes or?
What I like starting off with jump rope, just as a warm up, basically get a sweat going and stuff. I do a little stretching out before, but not much, because I prefer, like, the active stretching, and at least being warmed up before I stretch. So I enjoy the jump rope. You can just run in place or whatever, something like that. And then I'll do a little bag work. Again, more of, like, an active warm up. So I do a couple rounds on that. And what I like mirroring it like a fight. So usually for amateur Muay Thai fights that I've done, they're 3-minute rounds, a minute break. So I'll do 3 minutes on the bag. And during the minute break, I'll do something like squats, jump squats, maybe burpees, maybe just run in place, maybe constant punching, push up, whatever it was. I'll do something for that minute, and then do another round and something else for the minute, and I'll do that. And then usually after the actual Muay Thai class that I take, I'll do another type of circuit where I usually base it on rounds. So it'll be something like, let's say 3 minutes on the bag, but it'll just be all hard kicks. Like, everything you got into every kick for 3 minutes. And then for the minute in between, again, it might be something like squats. It might be something with, it could be body weight squats, could be with a kettlebell, another type of weight, it could be swings, snatches, whatever. And then back to the third minute, I'll do just front kicks to the bag and try to keep the bag away, because it's a heavy ass bag. So that's, especially for me, since I'm only 130 fucking pounds. So I find the benefit in that. And then again, something else in between the minute. And then the last round, maybe I'll do knees on, like, the dummy instead of the bag, because you can really lay into it.
Yeah. You could also, like, really control the dummy because it's not attached to something.
Yeah, exactly. I hate kneeing the bag. A heavy bag sucks.
Feels wrong.
Especially the ones that are hanging. Yeah, if it's one of those, like, ones where you put water in the bottom or something, it's a little better. But the rubber dummy works really well for the knees.
It sounded like you said rubber ducky for a second.
Also, there's this machine called the Versa Climber, which the first time I did it, I hated it, and I kind of still hate it, but it's pretty great for cardio. It's weird to describe. It is basically, it's like one piece, right? And it just goes, it's just straight up, right? So it's a track that's vertical, and it has handlebars and pedals, basically. But it doesn't go. It doesn't go around like a bike. It just goes up and down, up and down. So when your left arm goes up, your left leg is going up, and your right arm's going down, and your right leg's going down. So it's it simulates like climbing, and it's just really good for the legs, basically. And there's different ways to use that. I usually do 10-minute total, but I do it 30 minutes at, like, a jog pace, regular pace, 30-minute sprint. 30-minute regular pace, 30-minute sprint. And you do it for the whole 10 minutes. And it fucking sucks. And then there are times where it'll be a part of a circuit. So there was one where I was doing, it was like 30 seconds of kettlebell swings, 30 seconds sprint on the Versa Climber, and then 30 seconds of maybe squats or something else. You can just put push-ups in it if you want to do that, whatever it is. And then do that for the 3 minutes, and then maybe some type of active rest for the minute, go back to that.
So you do like a integrated endurance aerobics?
Yeah, and like I said, I try to mirror it to like the rounds of a fight. So you give yourself a general idea of like, okay, I just did this for 10 minutes straight. My fight's only going to be 9 minutes with breaks in between. That makes me feel kind of good, you know? And granted, actual sparring, cardio is going to be different, but these come real close as a barometer. Like, all right, if I can get through these or do these at really good paces and stuff, I should be all right in there.
Yeah, especially if you're keeping pace the whole time that you're doing the exercise alone, you're not actually doing that constant of anything when you're fighting. There's a lot of squaring up.
There is, but you're also not getting hit during these,
yeah,
and that takes a lot out of you if you get hit.
Balances.
So it's like what Mike Tyson said, like, everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like, your cardio could be great until you get punched in the face, and you'll be surprised how quickly it fucking dissipates. Running is real good, too. I don't like running, but I force myself to do it because I know it helps.
Yeah.
It just happens to be about a 2-mile distance around the block from my gym. So if you go around the block that the gym is on, it's like 1.9 miles.
I hate running outside.
I fucking hate it as well. But I like it more so than a treadmill. I can't run on a treadmill. I hate that shit.
I just hate running by like cars and trucks and breathing in all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I feel like
sometimes
that's just not good. I'm so paranoid about that for some reason.
Do you ever leave your house?
No, never. I actually, there's a tunnel. You might not know, there's a tunnel that leads from my house to your house. And now I just, if I'm behind a truck and like I can like, see its exhaust coming out, I might, hold my breath or breathe a little more different.
I agree.
Like,
I don't particularly like that. I'll do that even in the car if you have the vents on. And you're behind the truck that's doing that, and then you can tell the difference in the car already. I gotta close that.
Yeah, or like you go by the landscapers and you can smell that 2-stroke. I'll close the windows just so I don't get like.
Oddly enough, though, I like the smell of gas.
Yeah. Oh man, my sister does too. She likes the smell of gas, and she likes the smell of like cooking.
Gasoline.
Like.
I don't want you to fart in my face. That's not the type of gas I like.
She likes the smell of the home like
the
cooking
grill?
gas.
Oh, right.
And
like propane.
Yeah, or whatever it is for like
natural gas, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe, if it's in the house.
For like a gas range. And the other day, the flame went out on the stove, and it was just pumping gas into my house, and no one noticed.
Whoa, that is highly dangerous.
Yeah, and so I got out of the shower, and I'm like, huh, something smells like gas. And I figured it was just because I turned on, like, the fan for the shower. And I walk out, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I just ran over to the stove, turned it off, started opening the windows, and, like, I said something. My sister was like, oh, that's why I felt tired. And I'm like...
Well, it's a good thing you don't smoke anymore.
Yeah,
that could have been a real issue.
Yeah, seriously.
Speaking of natural gas, I just watched fucking Gasland on Netflix. Holy shit, man.
And what is that?
It is basically about fracking.
Oh, yeah, fracking's really...
And you know what? I guess it goes with the same problem we talked about before with, like, just studios trying to get content out, and, like, there are a whole bunch of shit movies coming out. It's the same thing with documentaries. There are a lot of shit ones that come out and stuff. Especially with, like, Netflix has made it so much easier and accessible that I think it encourages people to make some shitty ones.
Even iMovie and stuff like that, and Adobe Premiere, they make it so much easier to make this content.
I feel like good ones stand out, and like you can I don't know, I feel like I have a good bullshit meter for the most part, so this one doesn't feel like bullshit. I didn't get the look up, 'cause I know there's a whole bunch, like, you can Google anything and put debunked after it and something's gonna show up. Whether it actually makes sense or is truthful is another story.
Yeah, I hear there's really people that, like, they're lighting their drinking water on fire because of fracking and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, it was really, really crazy, and then they're showing how many wells there actually are, and, like, where the shale and, like, the gas has been found, and it crosses, like, the whole fucking country pretty much.
And there's a ton in upstate New York.
And it ends there, because I don't know what year it was actually released. I want to say 2010. And I know there's a part 2 to it as well, but I didn't watch that. And like I said, I didn't get to look up the debunk shit either. Yeah, 2010 is when it came out.
Yeah, fracking is one of those things, though, that I'd be afraid to look up about, You really have to look into who funded the research on it, because, there's like a whole world right now of just like energy battles where people are trying to basically fund like misinformation and stuff like that. But as far as I know, the fracking stuff is true.
And again, it was done in a way where like it just if they were bullshitting, it's like, we were talking about bad CGI. The fire on the water didn't look like bad CGI.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't look like they purposely, like, used shitty cameras or something to make it look like this guy just made a home video about it and stuff, It looks pretty legit. And especially when you get... I mean, there are scenes when the people that are affected by it had no problem talking to them. Most of them. Some of them had to sign... Like, they had settled when they had wells put on their land, so they couldn't talk about it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's a big problem when it's like, yeah, this is the they're basically admitting, without admitting, to doing wrong, and that they're the cause of this, and then they're not gonna let you talk about it at all.
And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people that are in the documentary or spoke in the documentary, like, didn't even realize they had signed a non-disclosure agreement. And
well, one of them did and was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna tell you," because she was like, "I'll sign this, but I'm not gonna lie if somebody asks me."
Yeah.
And she's like, "So." It is what it is, And it was just crazy because, like, these companies are putting in Walter, talking about Breaking Bad, water
They're
filtration.
filtering out all the Walters.
You don't want to drink that shit.
It's part of the race war. They're filtering out the Walters, and then they'll move on to the Stanleys. And...
So they're putting in these I did it again! Holy shit! These water filtration systems, and it's not even working. It's not even taking out all the stuff. And the chemicals are like proprietary blends, so they don't even have to disclose what they're fucking pumping down there.
That's crazy. I don't think that should be allowed.
How it's allowed is ridiculous. And what I don't like going into conspiracy theory type shit, because you can do that with anything, and it can discredit ones that are actually conspiracies.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that Halliburton's at the forefront of this, and guess what laws let them circumvent all the Clean Air Acts and all that stuff? Oh, when Dick Cheney was fucking vice president. So I mean, I don't know if that counts as a conspiracy theory, but it just seems like transparency. Really?
Yeah, it's so crazy, like, how much people just don't give a fuck about other people when it comes to making like extra money.
That's why
it's really mind blowing.
This is gonna be like, I don't want to say weird to say, but like controversial to say, especially in America. Like. You equate capitalism with America. Like, that's why people come to America. That's why people risk their lives from Mexico, wherever else. That's why all our ancestors came here. Most of ours came here was for...
Yeah, let's say some of my ancestors, not by choice. Technically it was because of capitalism, but it wasn't
exactly, it was because of capitalism. So, but right there shows the evils of unchecked capitalism. Like, no matter how you want to say it, it's just not a good thing. Like, capitalism is not good.
Yeah.
There you go. If you're putting it into the simplest terms. Like, it has advantages, because it's better than, like, the caste system. Like, if you were born in India, like, I'd rather live in a capitalist society if I was born in the fucking bottom of the barrel in India, that's for sure. I don't want to be like, oh, this is where I have to stay for my life and my kids' lives and my grandkids. Like, that would suck.
Yeah.
So, there are obviously pluses when you compare it to other shit, but that doesn't mean it's the best thing in the world and that it can go live on unchecked. Like this.
Yeah, I think a big part of capitalism is how, like, just lax people are about, like, how you can make money. I really do think, like, that regulation that looks out for people is really important. There is such thing as regulation just for the sake of making money. So you could be like, well, everybody has to pay money.
You have to have a fee to have the license to do this or stuff. And I think that gets ridiculous, especially with things like hunting and stuff, because it's like, for the most part, the hunters are doing you guys a fucking favor. Like, their population control, whether it's with places where, like, the deer get out of control and stuff like that. It's like, why I gotta pay you $135 for to go do this right now? Like, that's fucking ridiculous. But it does need... And then when they do put up regulations and stuff, and it just gets loopholed away anyway, it's like, well, we have this Swiss cheese of a law now, or a bill, or whatever it was,
like
that should be protecting people, and it's really just the dog and pony show because it's just for show now. You know, it's like it's not doing anything, it's not protecting anybody.
It's really just ends up fucking the people that are, you know, don't have the money to know about these loopholes, and then the people who do have the money exploit the loopholes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they had that whole thing with, what was it, carbon credits, and then, but you could also sell your carbon credits, and like, yeah, it became these huge companies were basically just buying up everyone's carbon credits, and it's like, that's kind of defeating the purpose. We don't want to fill a quota of carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere. Yeah. We're trying to make it so each person has a smaller footprint, not that you can make up for other people's footprint,
exactly.
You know, and it's fucking crazy.
But it was, there are very few times where I watch some of these things, and I'm like legitly scared for humanity.
Yeah.
And that one, scared me. I was like, holy shit. Like, this... And again, it goes back where it's like the people that are supposed to be looking out for everybody that we elect to do this clearly are not, and don't give two shits. And it's so weird because you're like, it's like, well, they can't all be idiots, right? They can't possibly be idiots, but they can't all be evil people either. But what's the other one? What else could they be? I mean, I guess they could be greedy pieces of shit, but I feel like that kind of moves towards evil a little.
Yeah.
But not really. I guess you don't have to be evil to be greedy.
You
know?
Depends where
or is
you're
it just,
greed, you know.
Because it's like how, obviously, well, maybe not so obviously. You feel like they would have access to this information too. I was fucking 1:30 in the morning. I'm watching this shit through my TV. You think one of the two people or something that are voting on these bills would know something about this too.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing is I always find it interesting that that they don't really talk about facts as much in debates anymore. They just talk about discrediting the other person or making the other person seem dumb, when in all reality they should have to have facts. And I feel like every bill should have research that comes with it. You know?
Something that you'll like about Gone Girl.
Oh yeah.
Just, think of facts and discrediting people. But yeah, I mean we had touched on, I think in the first episode, about even the Committee of Science and Technology and Space or whatever it was. They had gotten, there are scientists that are arguing whatever the fuck they're arguing, and the congressman is trying to discredit them. You're like, well, but how am I supposed to take the word of a scientist? Of course he's gonna say this. He has to publish papers and stuff, and you're like, fucking really?
It's
fucking
crazy,
really.
And it's funny because if you're on the side of those people, them saying that for some reason makes sense to you. There's this whole bias where we want to be right, and it's so hard to admit that we're wrong that we'll more gladly say something stupid than say that we were wrong, which is insane to really think of.
Yeah.
Instead of saying oh wow, maybe you're right, we'll say, no, seriously, it is purple monsters that live on the moon. They're huge. You could see them. I was trying to think of the least
credible thing. There's literally no evidence to support that. Yeah, but how am I supposed to believe you?
How am I supposed to believe a scientist?
What do you mean how are you supposed to believe me? Because we've proven that. We know that is not fucking true.
You're supposed to believe me because that's the point of scientists.
That's what I like. The one Neil deGrasse Tyson quote where it's the wonderful thing about science is that it remains to be true whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
And it's at some point we didn't know about as history goes. I think he was talking about it more relating it to religion and stuff, and people that just be oh, well then God did it for stuff that they can't explain. Yeah, people used to say that about the world being flat because they didn't know at that point. Every however many years, hundreds of years even, we figure out more stuff. So stuff that we couldn't explain is now explainable. So it's just moving your argument further and further back. It's yeah, we'll find something else that we can't explain, but you can't use God again. God must have done it then, because at some point we'll figure that out, so then where is your argument? And obviously this gets more into religion than politics, but
yeah, but
they're almost one and one, especially if you're talking about conservatism and the right nowadays. They've somehow meshed religion right into that. It's indistinguishable almost.
Yeah, and it's just crazy, and it's crazy how much misinformation comes out because of religion or people's beliefs, and it's really depressing. But going back to clean energy, I urge everyone to watch Motherboard, which is owned by Vice, has a short documentary on thorium energy. And it's really interesting to see how little people know about thorium energy and how afraid people are of thorium energy just because of...
It's a scary word.
Well, yeah, it's a scary word.
Sounds like something from
also,
T2.
But also, you have to figure, so thorium energy is nuclear power plants. So people are horrified of nuclear power plants because of things like Chernobyl and, I don't want to mispronounce it, Fukushima, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's because that was unsafe forms of like doing radioactive energy or nuclear energy. And so, whereas that was something where we were working to keep that energy contained so we can use that energy. So if something goes wrong, there aren't fail safes in place. Thorium energy, you pretty much have to activate in order to get energy out of it. And so that, like, if we had to abandon a thorium reactor, it would just power down and it would become cool. And there would be no issue.
Don't you think that's what they should have figured out when they started making nuclear power plants? Like, again, when we're just talking about people just not looking out for the best interest, really, and all this stuff happening with fracking, is it any different than when nuclear power plants first started being made? How can you make something that's like, yeah, we have no idea how we're going to shut this shit the fuck off if anything happens?
Yeah.
But, yeah, let's start building them fucking everywhere. Like,
yeah.
Let's depend on this for our energy. Who okays that shit?
I really think a big part of it is that they were, they sort of subsequently found this out while funding stuff for, the atomic bomb.
Well, for making the bomb, yeah.
The bomb that they thought might light the atmosphere on fire, and they were like, fuck it, let's try it anyway. Like, but yeah, and I think sort of part of it came from that, but people think that they're a lot crazier than they are. Like, they think, that, if you live down river of a nuclear power plant, that you're going to turn to, Godzilla, or you're going to grow, a third arm or something.
No, but you might get cancer and die.
The chance of you getting cancer living, near a nuclear power plant actually aren't that high. You can actually look up, there's a chart that XKCD made about the measurement of radiation, and comparing the amount of radiation living a couple miles from a nuclear power plant to the amount of radiation from a banana is insane. It's not that big of a difference, but people think and it's mostly because of media, unfortunately, that puts out this idea that you'll become a super mutant or whatever.
But it's also if everything is done right, and the people running it are ethical and this and that. There was a part of the Gasland one where they're dumping a whole bunch of shit in the streams that are nearby of wherever these fucking wells are and this and that. They're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or actually, it might not even matter. That might be one of the loopholes that they got, where it's they can do that shit. But it is fucking affecting not only the water there, but the wildlife. I mean, they're taking samples and again, putting a torch to it, and whatever one of the ingredients is used for plastic. So their plastic's being made from the stream water by putting a torch in it. One of the ladies, there were a whole bunch of dead animals popping up by the stream. She kept them. She wants to get them autopsied, but she's had them for 2 years now, or 3 years. Well, God knows how many years at the point of that it was filmed. But she kept them in our freezer, and she's talking about it I know this is ridiculously crazy. Never in 100 years I think my life has become to collecting dead animals and having them in my freezer. But she can't even get in touch with someone to even know where to send these motherfuckers to find out the exact cause of the death.
Yeah, speaking of having animals in your freezer and Vice documentaries, there was this guy, great documentary they have of a guy who only eats roadkill. And he picks it up off the side of the road. He's got a freezer just full of dead animals, and he said he doesn't he said basically someone killed these animals by accident, and nothing's being done with that. So he hasn't eaten something that was intentionally, or as far as he knows, intentionally killed in forever, and
that had a incredibly shitty, stressful life up until being killed.
Yeah, and so it's a really interesting documentary to watch, and the guy has so much personality. I want to say he's Welsh, and he eats badgers a lot because badgers live out there, and he pronounces it badger, and it's such a great documentary for that alone.
Really, in theory, in principle, I like where he's coming from.
Right? But still you're just that's fucking gross.
Exactly.
I'll stick with my horribly raised chicken.
I feel you just gotta be at the right place at the right time. You don't want some shit that's been sitting there for a week. I don't even know how you begin to tell.
But he said that boiling
got
gets rid of a lot of like things that are dirty about it. He makes a lot of stews and soups and stuff. But I'm no expert on eating roadkill, so.
I was gonna say, like, I'm very interested in taking up hunting for the reason of, you know, getting my own food and not supporting like the factory farm system and stuff like that, and just getting healthier meat. So, like I said, from that standpoint, I see where he's coming from, because it does make sense.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know if I could scrape it off the road and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But there's a whole like subculture, supposedly in the South, of people who eat like squirrel and possum and stuff. So, I guess it's a thing.
Surprise me.
Yeah, but going back to sustainable energy again, what actually has more radiation released from it than a nuclear power plant is actually coal mines.
Oh yeah, well.
And that's like a huge source of our energy, like our you know, power grid energy is from coal, and it's so bad for you. Coal is like among being super radioactive, it's also just super dangerous
And super dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's dirty. Well, I think I want to say that I feel like that's common knowledge to people, but you can never be too sure.
Yeah, evolution's also common knowledge to people. So
there, touche.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about I forgot exactly what it's called, and I don't want to confuse the two either. But one is tidal energy, where they have like, I guess, turbines like on the coast or something like that.
You know, I had thought about that when I was like a little kid, and like it's one of those things where I just figured like they don't do it, so it must not work.
Well, apparently,
and it's so like fucking obvious.
Apparently, it does work, and it's real, and it can create obviously tons of energy. It's constant. There's always tides, but
as long as we don't blow up the moon.
I think the downside of it is like it really fucks with the ecosystem of the coastline, and I think it was a pretty big negative to it. And then there was like thermo, like the basically using
nuclear.
Yeah, we use like the energy of the core of the earth basically and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how they harness that though.
Well, you saw the movie The Core, which was a real-life documentary.
I did. I kind of hated that movie, actually. I remember being like, again, I watched the whole thing, and I was just like, especially towards at the end, I'm just like, fuck did I just watch?
That was such a, like, 90s movie thing. Like, one of those things where it's like, that's just such a bad movie, and why do we make that? But people definitely saw it.
Speaking of movies that I think I just mentioned a lot that I've sat through that sucked, Pain and Gain. Tried to watch that the other day. The Rock and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh.
Shut that shit the fuck off. I can't even remember the last time I shut a movie off midway. That shit sucked. Anyway, on to the important stuff we were talking about. Just want to put that out there. If you haven't seen it, you're thinking about seeing it, fucking don't. That's
funny. I was thinking about seeing that.
Yeah, so was I.
Man,
bad call.
If someone had mentioned that, I totally would have ended up...
try that one out.
I would have ended up legally downloading that.
Man, it's not worth illegally downloading. Like, if I illegally downloaded that shit, I would, like, turn myself in. I'd be like, just lock me up. I deserve it for fucking watching this shit. This is terrible.
I remember the first person I ever heard getting one of those, like, they'll send you emails, like cease and desist emails for downloading illegal content, and that they, like, don't even end up following up on or anything. It's kind of like a scare tactic. And the first time I heard of it, and subsequently I've heard of it like a couple times afterwards, but it tends to always be for movies that made nothing in the box office. The first movie I saw it for was like Scary Movie 4, I think. And yeah, the person got a cease and desist letter. Or no. Not even Scary Movie. It was like Epic Movie or something like that.
Man.
One of those offshoot movies, and yeah, they got a cease and desist, and yeah, nothing ever comes of it.
Because they're like, our only... Because their business model on that, at that point of the movie's life cycle is like, we have to get the people that are curious enough to spend $2 for the download or whatever it might be, like, or maybe buy it in the Walmart bin for $5 for 5 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's our only hope of making any money on this.
And what's funny is like, their hope of making money would have probably been the same thing that happened with Dread recently. Is like, people ended up downloading it and people ended up fucking loving it. And then it got like a cult following, and they recently, I think it was like a week ago, they had something called Dread Day, where they just made people, they said like, hey, if you saw that movie and enjoyed it, buy a second copy, buy it for the first time, whatever, just so we can get the sales up, so Dread 2 will seem like more of a viable option. And they announced it. They're doing Dread 2.
That's awesome.
So, like, yeah.
It worked for them.
And,
it's all, you know what? It is how you leverage that. And I think the industry at first, especially with, you know, the beginnings with Napster and stuff like that, just didn't go about it the right way. They didn't know how they were going to leverage it. They were just like, no, they're just stealing our shit. Why? You can't just fucking share our shit like that.
But, like, back in the days with cassette tapes.
That was a big thing, too.
Yeah.
Like, there was actually, I mean, obviously I don't remember firsthand because cassettes were already there when I was born, but I do remember hearing about, like, you know, well, maybe we can just tape stuff off the radio. Like, that the industry didn't want that shit.
Yeah,
like,
or you could
they wanted control.
Or, you know, you get the 2 tape one, you can, you know, record, you can
yeah,
make
you
copies
do another
of
one. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it just expanded the way that the industry worked. Same thing with downloading music, you know? Just changed the way that the industry works now, and, you know, people are more willing to give away content and, you know, give content for cheaper, and
because they see what it can build for. Now, I get that it does kind of suck because, like, a lot of people, especially from musicians, they're like, well, you know, more people come to your shows and this and that, and I guess that's cool, but I also feel like, yeah, but that's not really what my game plan was. I don't think every musician is like, I can't wait to tour 300 days out of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, no, I want to make this album and sell 12 million copies and then kind of do the shows I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Then enjoy life because I made a whole bunch of money selling this album.
I do think, though, that for the most part, a lot of, like, bands do make more money off the shows than the albums, because I think a lot of times they get, like, money up front to do the album, and then they get, like, the tiniest little royalty check.
But if you sell 12 million albums, it's different. Like, if you sell a whole bunch, then you're gonna make something. And for bands, it's different too, because, you know, if you're splitting it 4, 5, 6 ways or something like that, then that sucks as well.
I think probably what's going to end up happening is that they'll factor in illegal downloads to your sales, and they'll maybe take cuts from, you know, your shows or something.
Well, they already are.
Oh, really?
But they're not. I don't think they're factoring in from illegal downloads or anything. They're called 360 deals now. So instead of, you know, at first an artist would get signed, they would get their advance to make their album, and usually the record label just made money off the sale of the album. Now they will take a cut of what you make for shows, merchandise, stuff like that. You know, anything that's an offshoot of it, basically. And I think the argument is because, well, we're funding the album, really, and take the chance there. And if it makes you famous, where you can make money in other areas, well, we're kind of responsible for that. You know? And since we don't make any money off your album now anyway, we have to make it elsewhere. And so now, people are probably doing even more shows because of that. Not only because it's one of the only ways that they can make money, but the label's going to push that too, because it's one of the only ways they're going to make money as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how much just, like, the industry's changed, like, over the years and just in our lifetime alone. Like, it's, like, outstanding. You know, now if you wanted to, like, you could become an independent artist in, like, in music respects. You could do it in for books too, movies, and you could just distribute that through Amazon. Amazon has something called Create Space, and they will, like, literally press or print or whatever your product on demand, along with, like, tons of other ones whenever it's ordered. And then they'll just take a small percentage of your sale, and you'll get the rest of that.
Do you think it's small? Because I know with some of their other stuff, it's like fucking 30%. I think with, like, the audiobook thing, because, like I said, we're looking into that for Rebecca's book. I think it's pretty substantial.
Well, I don't know how much it's changed recently, but I remember I was looking into making an art annual. So I was gonna have people send in their artwork, and I would compile it in a book, and they would pay, like, a fee, and that would go to, you know, compiling the book. And I was gonna sell it through Amazon, and I remember, like, a decent, you know, full color book was, like, I think it was, like, $3 to produce or something, and then I could just charge whatever I want and make the rest
good, then.
of that.
If they charge you a flat rate, that's good.
But I think it is sort of, like, based on the amount of content there is, and then, it might be completely different.
If it's like 800 pages, it might be a little more.
And I think it's also completely different with, you know, other content. Like, I think right now they're probably really trying to push people to buy books, so they'll, you know, also push people to make them, whereas maybe digital content,
I was actually supposed to order a Kindle Paperwhite today.
Yeah?
I haven't yet. I'm gonna soon. I'm putting it off a little, my girlfriend was like, Christmas is coming up. I'm like, yeah, but I want to read now. So
yeah,
I don't know. And the more I wait, it's like, well, then I guess I should just wait. Yeah. But I also think, I could have 15 books done by Christmas though.
Yeah, I wanted to get a Kindle because I want to read more.
Yeah, I figured it'd definitely be easier, especially just the way my room's set up. There's no backlight here behind me, like if I'm just sitting in bed and want to read. So it's impossible. Not impossible. Because if I have this light on or that, if I have that light on, nobody knows what I'm talking about, but my lights are in opposite corners of this fucking room. So the one light is on the light switch. I have to get out of bed. So I don't want to be reading a book and have to get out of bed. Once you're in bed, you know how that is.
So you need the one with the backlight then?
The Paperwhite.
Oh, okay, the Paperwhite does have, because I think like it all has that, e-ink technology or whatever, but it's a matter of like the backlight.
Yeah, the new Paperwhite has the backlight.
But with the backlight, I don't know how much better that is than just reading it off a screen at that point, because you still have that light going into your.
It's a way softer light, and since it's not the same type of screen and colors that like
refresh.
Yeah, that an iPad or Kindle Fire would have. Because I've talked to people that have used both, and everyone has recommended the Paperwhite as the best thing to read on, basically. So that's why I decided that. But also doing that, I brought up the point where now I feel a little guilty that I won't be actually buying books, and at some point, it's just like fucking music. If people stop buying it, people are going to stop making it, if it's not commercially viable, they're not going to fucking produce books anymore, man. And then 1,000 years from now when, I don't know, the sea levels rise and wipes out everything that takes power or something like that, there'd be no record of anything, Nobody would know how to, fucking send an email or make another phone because nobody wrote a book about it. It was all in the fucking cloud,
So maybe if you really like something, buy the book so you can lend it out to people, Yes. Be like, oh, bro, you gotta read this book.
But you know what's cool? So I hear about the Kindles and stuff, they have like a sharing feature where it's not like file sharing like Napster was where you keep the file and then someone else can download it. It's like you can lend your book to somebody, but it comes off of your cloud. So like you couldn't read it at the same time, right? You would lend it to me and be like, oh, thank you. It'd be in my queue or whatever it is, and it wouldn't be in that person's anymore until I give it back.
And then also look, because they have things at libraries where you can take books out of the library and watch the book, read it on your device, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I like the idea of being. Am I going to read 10,000 books? Probably not. But I like the idea that I have that option of having whatever ones I would want to read right there. So it's not like if I go away or whatever it is, I got to carry 7 books with me or some shit like that. It's like, oh, fuck it. They're all in this little thing.
Yeah, like recently I bought a book and I still haven't finished it. And like it's gotten to the point where I put it in my bag that I take to school with me because I want to finish it. And I'm like really close too. And meanwhile, like I have these Dashiell Hammett like novellas on my phone that I'll just read through whenever, and it's like I can always have that, so it's always easy to just be like, okay, add a little bit more to what I was reading.
And I also want to try to avoid as much light as I can at night. Also, it's been a big thing that I've been trying just for like better sleep. I don't know if you notice, you see, there's tape on my cable box right there. So all like these little lights from all these electronic devices in my room, I try to cover up to make my room as dark as possible.
I do the opposite. I just look at lights until I'm overly hypnotized and then I just pass out.
These are my blue blocking glasses that sometimes I wear at night. I forget a lot. But when I first started using them, I did notice the difference because like the blue lights fuck with your melatonin production. So if you were exposed to that, your body has circadian rhythms and everything, and when the sun goes down is usually when your body would produce melatonin. They're like, all right, sun's going down, it's time to wind down, we're going to go to sleep. And that was like from caveman days and shit like that. So we still have all that same shit going on, but we don't live in caves anymore, and we're exposed to light.
Well, you don't.
Well, yeah, apparently you live underground. So, probably with coal. Cuddling up next to it.
I like the warm glow of the radiation.
You like that kid in Peanuts? With the dirt cloud, it's just coal cloud around you. So, anyway, all these lights that are on all the time, they fuck with how you go to sleep, basically. So, I've been trying to limit that as much as I can. Also, the stimulation from, like, if you're watching a movie or TV and stuff, is technically not good for you either.
You're also technically not supposed to, you're supposed to try to do as little as possible in the room where you sleep.
Yeah.
So you don't associate that with being able to do other things.
Which sucks, because I do everything here.
Yeah, I do everything in the room. So, yeah. Anytime that I'm in my room, I notice that I do stay up a lot later. And it's actually, because I go between my house and my girlfriend's house until we can get a place to be together.
Underground.
And, we both live underground. I'm a mole person, she's a rabbit person.
It works out beautifully.
She's like a hutch. It's interesting. And, but yeah, I have completely programmed my body that when I go to her house, I immediately start falling asleep because I know to sleep there. Whereas my room, I do my design work there. I watch movies there, and so yeah, any of that is possible in my room. And
another thing I like about the Kindle is that I can't open a tab and go on Facebook or anything like that, which is it's going to be a big help as well.
That would happen to me. So I'd be reading, and then all of a sudden that little thing would pop up at the top and be like, "Someone commented on your Facebook," and I'd be like, "Oh, Facebook."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It definitely kills all your productivity. So yeah, those are all little things. Even technically, even reading books before you go to bed, you shouldn't be stimulating your brain that way either, really. But I think it's going to be way better than what I'm currently doing.
Staring into light.
Yeah, exactly. Or playing, the worst thing you can do is play video games before going to sleep.
Really, I think, the thing is, I hypnotize myself to sleep, so, I love playing video games before I go to sleep, especially because I don't play, Call of Duty or anything, which is probably, a little bit more adrenaline-packed before you go to sleep, I'll play, a game like Fallout or something where I'll be wandering around, the wasteland.
A little similar.
Yeah, but, there's more...
downtime?
Yeah, there's more downtime, there's more space between things, so, I'll go, rummaging through a old house or whatever, and then by the time of, with all the gray and green and, just depressing colors, slowly start putting me to sleep, and I can, go to bed after that. But then still, I will go from my computer to my bed, and then I'll open up Reddit, and I'll read Reddit until I'll find that, I end up waking back up with the phone in my hand going, okay... And putting my phone on the windowsill and going
the rabbit hole of links.
Yeah, my God.
Oh my God, you'd be it'd be 10 at night, you'd be oh yeah, I'm just gonna read this article, and then the next thing you know, it's 4 in the fucking morning, and God knows what you're even reading at that point. You're like, how did I even get here? There was something I went to send Rebecca pertaining to her book the other day. It was a file I had to redo and resend to her, so I'm like, oh yeah, let me do that now. And no joke, it was about 10 o'clock. And I open up my laptop. I'm like, all right, let's just send this. I open up Google and stuff to get to the thing. And then before I know it, I'm watching fucking YouTube videos of... What the fuck was it, yo? I don't remember right now. But I just went off. And I didn't realize until she texted me at almost midnight, 12:30. She's like, hey, if you get a chance, you send that over. And I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to do that at 10 o'clock. And that's what I opened my laptop to do. And somehow I'm fucking... watching whatever the hell I'm watching right now, and I have no idea how I got here.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
Yesterday, I ended up, I was working on a presentation for my students, and I
do remember. It was clips of Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly. That's what I started with, and then it went to a whole bunch of Colbert stuff, this and that.
So yours is a little more, not much more, but yours is a little more highbrow than mine. Mine was, I went to a presentation for my students, and I got, my girlfriend showed me before she left, which I even hate this term, a fail video of it's people, I guess their boat hits a crazy wake and they all fall over.
Two chicks and two dudes?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Well, actually, okay, so I thought there was 4. There's actually 6 people, but you don't really notice them because everyone else. And yeah, it's time to turn down for what? And they
Is that the music that is in it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so they end up hitting a wave or whatever, and everyone falls over, and it's perfectly timed to the drop of whatever they call it in that song. And so yeah, and it just keeps looping perfectly, and I end up falling down a rabbit hole of there's an entire series of just turn down for what timed fail videos.
Nice.
There's a turn down for what.js, which is a JavaScript that you can put in your toolbar at the top, your bookmark bar, and you can just do that on whatever site, and you can just click turn down for what, and it'll start playing the song, and then at the drop all the stuff on the page just starts skewing and distorting and it's so ridiculous. And so I end up looking at the clock and I'm like, shit, I gotta start getting ready to commute soon, and I gotta finish this presentation.
It pisses me off so much because there's like actual stuff I need to do,
Yeah.
like that pertain to like real life, and then before I know it, I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m. and I'm gonna go try to pass out. Oh, I didn't do anything I was supposed to do tonight when I tried to start at 9 o'clock.
That's why I end up listening to podcasts, because podcasts stop me from at least watching videos. So I'll be listening to the podcast in the background of that. I don't want to pause it and then watch a video.
Oh no, I've done that. It's ridiculous. I'll have a podcast on, I'll have the TV on, and I'm like going through my music downloads for my fucking hard drive that I DJ with and stuff. And I'm like listening to 4 different things. I have like maybe even have the headphones on for the music. Like it's really bad, yeah. I can't pay attention to all that shit. And then, yeah, it's really bad, yeah. Because then just have to replay the fucking whole podcast like when I'm in the car. So I'm like, why would I even leave this playing?
Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell was on the TV was on. It's just fucking colors going off for no reason.
Yeah, and I find that I'll end up doing something like while I'm listening to a podcast. And the other day I was listening to one of the shows I listened to, and I realized like halfway through, like, oh, I've listened to this one. I just wasn't really paying that much attention.
I've done that one before too, pretty recently actually, where I was like, I don't know, it just came up weird in Stitcher where it just was like, it came up as a more recent one than it really was. So it was like in like the top 2 when I listened to it like maybe 6 or 7 ago. But so for some reason it popped up into the top 2 recent ones. And so I started it again, and I'm like, it took me about 10 minutes, and I'm like, nah, I definitely listened to this one. I'm like, all right, let's stop this. I heard this one.
And the worst is sometimes, they'll have running jokes on podcasts or whatever, and so you won't be sure. You're like, I think I listened to this, but I know they do this every once in a while. Yeah. So, especially I listened to Jimmy Pardo. I don't know what it is about the way he talks. It's just I love him. He really makes me laugh, and yeah, he does a lot of jokes he'll call back to, and so I'll end up listening to like a whole show. That's actually who it was. Listened to like half the show, and I was like, oh, I've heard this before. It's just a matter of he's doing his Shreveport joke again, and like, or whatever, and I just, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this maybe it isn't the same one.
Yeah, and then you have to kind of sit there and you're like, at this point, maybe I should just listen to the whole thing again, since I didn't really realize I'd listened to it. Maybe it wasn't, I didn't really process it the first time, and yeah. What's funny is we started this off, and you were about to talk about something, and I was like, let's talk about it on the podcast, and then 2 hours later, we remember that...
You know what's funny, too? I also emailed myself a bunch of pictures of, like, screenshots that I took of stuff, like, throughout the last 2 weeks or so, of stuff that I would have liked to talk about and touch on. And, yeah, we didn't talk about any of that stuff either.
And it's funny, because, yeah, I was thinking of doing that, and then I was like, you know what? So much stuff just ends up coming up anyway.
Exactly, and I like the free form of it anyway. But you also, every week, like right before, I'm like, there's that little butterfly where it's like, what the fuck are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
I have no fucking clue. You want to go in with at least something to say, an outline or something. And I used to do that with my radio show too. When I did the video mix show, I always was like, I should have at least an idea of maybe 3 songs I'm going to play and then go from there at least. And I never did. I always just fucking winged the shit out of it, which was my favorite form of DJing anyway, which I think what it's all about. You just go there and play what you feel. And for a radio show, it's not really like there's a crowd to read, so I just go with what I feel. So that makes it easier too. But yeah. So for this, I was just like, what the hell are we gonna? And we were supposed to have a guest today, but the timing got mixed up. They thought that we recorded at night. We record during the day, so they couldn't come by today. We'll get them on a later week. We actually do have a few few guests kind of lined up. We just gotta put it in stone what day is gonna be what.
I actually didn't think about it. So when you told me that, we record generally at like 1 o'clock. So they thought that we started at 1 a.m. Like we were just rocking out with our cocks out at 1 a.m.
Which like doesn't. That makes sense to me only because that's usually when I get everything done.
Yeah.
Is from that.
I am
about 11 p.m. to midnight is when I actually start doing stuff. Like anytime I ever recorded a mix that I put online or anything, it's always overnight. It's always from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's just the way I get. I'm the most productive late at night. I can't, like, when I go to the gym and train, like, it's usually at the earliest 5 p.m., usually 6, 7 p.m., and when I was actually training all the time for fights and stuff, I'd be there from 5 till about 10 at night whenever they fucking kick me out.
I'm the opposite. I can't, like, after probably, like, 1 or 2, I can't work out anymore. Like,
I can't work out in the morning.
I'm not in, like, the mindset anymore. I've already, like, lounged around for too long. I probably ate something I shouldn't have ate before working out, and I'm like, I can't do this.
I do have to... If I know I'm working out that day, I do have to be careful what and when I eat. Yeah. I've noticed that, and I've got that down, so it's not really a problem now. But in the morning, I mean, that's why I'm still a white belt. It's because the gi class is Saturday at 10 a.m., and I never got to that shit. Like, there was no way I was going to make it to it. And when I did, I felt like dog shit. Like I'm not performing at my optimal right now.
Which is funny, because if you were a morning person, you'd actually be fucked for professional bouts. Because professional bouts are
real late at night. Yeah, so, for the most part. Yeah,
kind of funny. It kind of balances itself out, I guess.
Yeah, and one of my friends, shout out Nicky Knuckles. He is a morning person
of Sonic the Hedgehog fame.
And like I would train with him a lot, but he trains in the morning all the time, and I just be like, dude, I can't function at that time. I don't go to sleep till maybe 3 or 4 a.m. Like, I can't be fucking training at 7 or 8. Like, I'm not gonna be there, man. I'm sorry. Like, I want to help you out, but
I get up. I have to take my girlfriend to work at 9 a.m. So I'm like up till then, and then at a certain point, you know, I've drank that many cups of coffee that my head hurts, and I can't like do physical activity till I eat something fattening, and then like when I eat something fattening, I don't want to do anything, and like
sit and be fat.
So I recently started. I wish someone would go through these and they just list where the segues were and just be like, how the fuck did we get here? Because that's why we didn't talk about what we wanted to talk about, was because I instantly segued it to like blaxploitation.
Well, I was gonna say, and while we were talking about that, I was like, for some reason, the first 3 or 4 of these, whatever we're on 3. So the first 3 of these, we've just been talking about movies. Like, it always opens up with movies somehow. No idea why. And we specifically, like, literally right before pressing record, because we stopped. We were about to talk about something. We're like, stop. Let's get that on the podcast. Let's open with that. Okay, cool. I'm going to press record now. Hey guys, we're here on da-da-da-da-da, and just totally bypassed what we were going to talk about.
And so what's even funnier is the one that we speak the least about movies on was probably the last one. And beforehand, we spoke about movies for like an hour, and we were like, let's go put this on the podcast. And then we were like...
And Rebecca knows almost every movie that's ever made.
Yeah.
So it's real surprising that one would have the least amount.
Yeah. And so what I started doing recently is I
don't mean to cut you off, but I did want to... And it's funny, because I was specifically wanting to talk to her about that, because she... Not only very artistic, and I think that was some type of a defense mechanism for everything she'd been through, but I also feel like so are movies. You know, being like... That's why she watched so fucking many of them and everything. Was so interested in whatever was going on in those worlds and stuff. And I wanted to get her insight on that. Oh, well. Guess we'll have to have her back sometime, where I'll totally forget to mention it again.
Hopefully she'll listen to this podcast and she'll remember for you.
Just email me about it, and I'll tell everyone next week.
So what I started doing was I started drinking coffee with coconut oil in it. And because I was watching a thing about how people are now drinking coffee with butter in it.
I've been doing that for about since the spring, I'd say.
With the butter or the coconut oil?
Both.
So so that's the thing, is with the butter you put the coconut oil, or something from coconut oil.
Yeah, and you can also use what's called MCT oil.
Yeah, MCT oil, which is in coconut oil.
It's just basically more concentrated.
And so they were saying that kind of lets the caffeine ride out and stuff, and but I figure just it's catalyzed by fat, right? So I figure I'll just try the coconut oil, because they don't really talk about the science of why the butter. It's more the science of why the coconut oil and the fat with the MCT oil. So I figured I'll just try with the coconut oil, and I don't really notice a difference. I drink a lot of coffee as it is, but it is definitely fucking delicious.
You should really try it with the distinction is it has to be grass-fed butter. If you put regular like fucking country crock in it or some shit, it is not going to have the same effect, because the fats in it are different, right?
Well, I heard it's just unsalted butter.
No.
So it does have
first
to be
you want to
butter.
Yes, you want to use unsalted butter, because salted coffee is probably going to be really weird. Probably not going to taste that good. But yeah, the distinction is that it should definitely be grass-fed butter. And coconut oil. I did a lot of research about this when I started it. The problem is, like, I don't really retain information very well, so I can't really maybe talk about it intelligibly as I could have 8 months ago.
Yeah.
When I was on top of it. Now, to me, I've just accepted it because I've been doing it. It's like, I don't need to fucking look at that again, you know? But I'll send you some links or whatever.
Do you feel like you eat less throughout the day?
Yeah. The first time, this is how I was sold on it. The first time I had tried it, I was DJing out east in like Montauk, which is probably 2 hours from here, right? Or it might have been the Hamptons, about an hour and a half, like an hour and a half-ish, something like that. And it was for a wedding, so let's say this wedding starts at 5 o'clock. I got to be there at least 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock, and it's 2 hours away. So I have to give at least 3 hours to get there. So I'm like, I'm not going to fucking eat shit today. So I take the coffee, I do it with the grass-fed butter. Yeah, fuck it. You're gonna hear the dog barking. It is what
Trying
it is.
to like block the space it's coming.
It's so not gonna work. Like, you picked up a DVD case, and
I figured the microphone's small enough that it might do something.
You know what that was like? That was like if I had a garbage container full of water, and you took the top off a tuna can and tried to stop the water from pouring out of the garbage can. Like, that's just not gonna work. You might hear my grandmother in the background. She talks loud. She's Italian. She's on the phone. We have a pretty open house, split level, so the sound travels. And that dog just never shuts up.
I can see that picking up.
So, it's whatever. It is what it is. I don't think it's gonna ruin it. You know, where this is real life.
This is real life. Shit happens.
So, anyway, 2 tablespoons of the grounded coffee and about 2 cups of water. I've since increased the grounded coffee. I usually use anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons, and a little less water, because I like it gets more concentrated or whatever. 2 tablespoons of the grass-fed butter, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. You put it in a blender, blend it the fuck up, and that's pretty much it. All you really need. I put some stevia in it, maybe some cinnamon. Now I've gotten to the point where you can throw in a little square of dark chocolate. I put in some peanut butter. I've experimented with a lot of different stuff.
Have you tried that powdered peanut butter?
I haven't, because I remember reading the ingredient stuff of it, and something about it. I was like, I don't want to try that. I was like, I just use actual peanut butter. This is fine.
Yeah, my mother ended up using, because she got surgery, and they recommend, for the surgery she had a lot of protein. I think just in general they recommend a lot of protein for recovery for surgery, and then also she's trying to lose weight as well, so she's going on a very high protein diet. And she ended up getting this powdered peanut butter, and the point was that it has so much more protein, but it has like almost none of the fat. And you can just add it to stuff.
The thing with that is that the fat in peanut butter is actually fat that you can use. Like,
also you need
it's a healthy fat for you.
Also, you need that fat to metabolize all that protein.
Yeah. So
if you throw that in some coconut oil,
it's getting a little more like pushed into the mainstream a little more. Time just did something about, it had a big stick of butter on the cover, I think, and was talking about how, fats are healthy for you. Again, you got to dig into it and really research it, because no, you shouldn't just be using regular butter and eating it by the stick. Like, that is not healthy for you at all. South Park just had an episode. It was called Gluten-Free Ebola. So, and they basically, at the end of it, it gets to like flipping over the food pyramid, where you should have a whole bunch of fat and, whatever type of meat and this and that and a little bit of grain, which generally is not true. I guess I should say. I want to say generally it is true, but it's very specific. Like, you want healthy fats, not like, grass-fed meats, not fucking the factory farm shit, stuff that's been fed corn and grain that is not what cows are supposed to eat.
Yeah, well, and just always the way they break that stuff down is always oversimplified. So, like,
yeah, exactly.
It has fats in this tiny little area, and so fats would include everything from coconut oil to, hydrogenated oil.
Which is not on that list of good stuff that, exactly, you do not want.
Coconut oil is great for you, and, like, avocado has tons of fat that's great for you.
Yeah.
But, donuts do not. But you should have a good amount of fat in your diet, and, like, it's surprising to me how many people are, like, completely damaging their bodies by, like, cutting out fat as much as possible, only eating, like, the leanest protein they can, also having protein shakes on top of that have no fat in them, and it's like, you need that fat for the protein.
And you know what it is too? Yeah, you can't overdo the protein, no matter where it is. But actually, if you're eating conventional meat, you actually do want the least fatty one that you can get. So it makes like it's like they're inadvertently doing something that they should be doing, but in a wrong fashion.
But they're also then cutting out all added fat.
Yeah.
So those are the same people that would never eat anything that has, you know, any fat in it, and like they'll only grill instead of like using oil
you want
to cook
and slow cook it, because you don't want to oxidize these fats either. So if you're like olive oil can be healthy if you're getting actual olive oil. There's quite a bit of research about
there's no legislation.
A lot of fraud in olive oil, like a lot. And there's no way to really even check it. So that kind of sucks. But again, I use the grass-fed butter for a lot of my cooking. You want to do it real light, though. You don't want to, again, oxidize these fats and stuff, because then it causes free radicals, and your body doesn't know what to do with them, and can't, like, process it correctly. So you kind of want to minimally cook your stuff. If you get a grass-fed steak, get a ribeye. Get the fattiest cut that you can get. And it's better to eat it as rare as possible, really.
Yeah,
as you can stand
like
it.
Charred
basically, the chard's bad.
For you.
And again, it does the same thing. You're cooking it too much, you're oxidizing the fats.
Oh my god,
it's a lot of shit.
The other day, I had a conversation with someone about how, first of all, I thought that red meat was bad for you, that eating it anything but well done is especially bad for you, and that pork has worms in it, and it's like so mind-blowing how much misinformation is out there about food that like is everywhere. Like red meat is everywhere.
You can't go anywhere without seeing it unless you go to a vegan place.
Yeah, and then it's like it's crazy because like they wholeheartedly believe this, and then you know they will very gladly, like I was saying before, make themselves seem like morons than actually go, oh, I didn't know that. I had been told something wrong my whole life.
And that's the thing, like. And it happens where, I mean, using Time as the example, I'm sure at some point Time Magazine said eggs are bad for you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what was the general knowledge. Like, oh, you shouldn't eat a whole bunch of eggs. And then it switched where, no, you should have eggs every fucking day because they're great for you. So, like...
Well, so that's what ended up happening with that, was that they said eggs are bad because people were eating eggs every day.
And you can develop an allergy to that if you're eating eggs every day.
You can also get really high cholesterol. And so when they came back and they said eggs aren't bad, everyone took that as, oh, eggs are great for you. Which technically eggs are good for you. They have a lot of protein.
They are really good. Again, the type of where did your egg come from and the type of egg that you can get. Usually, though, it's not as important. Like, there are certain things that you should always get organic because, you know, they have no way to defend against it naturally and stuff, and it just pours in, like strawberries. They use a whole bunch of pesticides on them, so you should always get those organic. But avocados, you cannot because they have a shell that the pesticides don't really get through.
Yeah.
So you can be kind of safe with that.
It sucks though because you can't even believe what they say on those packages.
With that, exactly. There's no actual regulation for it. Like natural has no regulation whatsoever. It doesn't even have FDA doesn't even have a definition for it.
Yeah, there's no, so like you were saying before about olive oil, there's no regulation as to that your food has to be that food, which is weird because I remember a while back working at a deli and they weren't able to say that something was homemade because it wasn't actually made at someone's home. They had to call it home style. But meanwhile, like, you could just put, like, you know, whatever oil and food coloring and say it's olive oil. They actually, in a lot of the places where you get calamari, and this is why I love getting the little squids with the little tentacles, a lot of the places they can say it's calamari, and it's actually hog's anus. It's actually the intestines of a hog, and they cut it up to be like calamari, fry it, and it's fucking delicious, but...
Holy shit.
Also, another one...
I didn't know that one. I wish I did.
Another one, natural flavoring.
Oh, yeah, that I know.
So, if you get a raspberry candy and it has natural flavoring, you're going to think, oh, naturally flavored from raspberries. No, it could very well be flavored naturally from something that a beaver excretes from above its anus. And it's in a ton of stuff. It's in
You know what's so funny about that? We were just talking about that at the restaurant the other day.
Yeah.
With I don't want to say names and stuff and everything, but with people that work there, it came up for the raspberry flavoring for the iced teas, and somebody said as a fun fact, it's like, oh, I think that comes from raccoons, and then we looked it up and it was like, no, it's beavers. And I was like, that's fucking true? Holy shit.
It's funny because I actually said that to one of our managers, and because I was saying, like, it's so weird what we eat and, like, what we consider weird to eat and what we consider not weird to eat. And she was like, I mentioned the beaver anus thing, and she was like, well, that's some delicious beaver anus. And I was like, that is just wonderful to hear you say.
It's mind-boggling how there's no... There's apparently no importance in, like, oh, it has to... like, isn't there false advertising? Like, it's not okay if someone sells you a car and it doesn't do what... it doesn't work, whatever, or if you knew shit about it that you're not relaying to the buyer and stuff like that. But when it comes to the food that you live on, that, oh my god, that powers everything you do in life, it's like the Wild West.
And I think it goes to what we're being taught in school. And so, you learn about Upton Sinclair and, like, the muckrakers and this period of time in which there was, like, all this reform in America. And I think, in turn, people think that everything's been reformed and been fixed, and that, like, there's complete regulation as to what goes in your food, but there's still, like
talking about the loopholes just with, like, the fucking Gasland shit. There's the same type of things that are going on with your food.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of, like, flies and fly eggs, like, allowed in food that, like, you can get. But, yeah, beyond that, like, they could just literally take pretty much just chemicals, put them in a jar, and be like, here's some olive oil. And it's, like, crazy that, like... Yeah, and then at the same token, they could say that they got some good grass-fed butter that's, just fucking shit-fed butter that...
I actually saw the factory where the butter I get comes from when I was in Ireland, because it's from Ireland, and pretty much almost everything. That's why the food there was great, because it's almost everything, even from the restaurants and stuff, like they fucking have the sheep in the backyard, pretty much.
Oh, like, that's what was nice when I went to Vermont, was, like,
it's all grass-fed.
To truck something in, it costs way too much in Vermont. So, a lot of stuff is, like... I went to a place, I want to say it was called Goodfellas, but that seems too silly. Which I learned today, what's his name? Ray Liotta. First of all, I found out he's not even Italian. He's, like, Scottish. He didn't ask me anything on Reddit. I found out in Goodfellas when they're eating, like, pasta sauce. That was made by Martin Scorsese's mother.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
They're coming out with a 30 by 30, one of the ESPN films, about, like, the point shaving and everything, that he was actually involved, that Henry Hill was involved in, and all that stuff that, they talk about in Goodfellas and everything. I think that's this Tuesday, I think. But,
yeah, I think the place was called Goodfellas, and it was, like, one of the best steaks I had ever had. Or I think I got a steak, and I think I also another time got a burger. And it was like both those were the best I'd ever had. And the thing was, like, you looked out the window, you saw cows. Like, they were making it from those cows that were there. And, like, oh, such good food. Vermont, though, such a strange place.
So funny, because I've been doing this as a whole probably for, like, a solid year now, about just being really tightening up how I eat and stuff. And... I live at home still, so I told my grandma, like, I pretty much got this. I make my own food a lot. And she still goes to Costco, though. There's only 2 people in this house. She buys stuff from Costco. I'm like, there's no way we can eat all this. But anyway, she's, buying meat there still. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to eat my own. And every now and then, I'll eat whatever she makes and stuff. And this and that. She's like, and it's just funny how she would go, she's like, it's good, right? Good, tastes good. I'm like, yeah. It's not the taste that's the problem. Yeah. Like, you're not really understanding what I've been trying to say all this time. It's it's what this is going to be doing inside of me. Like, after I eat it, it's like it has nothing to do about taste. Like, yeah, it's great that it tastes good. I'm not. That's not my argument. That's not my point of contention here.
Yeah, I'm more concerned with, instead of making sure what I put in my body is, in these situations, I'm more concerned with making people aware that that's how food is, so maybe some sort of reform will come around, because I honestly, I couldn't see myself going to those places. I think I mentioned before my girlfriend has celiac disease, so we do have to do, like, specialty shopping, and that was, like, such a crazy change to, like, have to, like, look at every single label and just look for these small number of things. Like, there's people who don't even eat stuff with, like, what was the one that I saw recently? It's something that comes from corn, and so they were like, oh, well, most likely it comes from GMO corn, so I'm not going to eat this. And it was like something like really, it was like, I think it was fiber tablets, and it has dextrose, I think it was, in it. And they're like, oh, well, there's a good chance that's refined from corn. And okay, there are some people that do have allergies to corn, which kind of seems unbelievable. It seems like one of those things where it's like, really, you could be allergic to that? But there are a lot of components to it. But another thing is like, just trying to avoid these things because like whatever could be from whatever source. And I mentioned before, like GMO is one of those terms where it's like it's hard to pinpoint what is and isn't GMO. If you have orange carrots, I'm pretty sure that's GMO because carrots were originally purple.
Purple, yeah.
They changed the color of them for, I believe it was like a Danish royal family, and like from there, like carrots have been orange. And so
we did talk about how, at least I feel, there's a big difference though, again, injecting DNA from other species of whether plants or animals and stuff, and just selective breeding over generations to get what you want.
Yeah, but I think at the same... Well,
also, it's very interesting because, I've heard the arguments both ways, and I'm honestly in the air. I'm not sure. I don't know. From everything that I've seen both ways...
I definitely hate Monsanto.
Because they're an evil company in general,
yeah.
regardless of whether you think a GMO food is healthy for you or bad for you or whatever. They're, as a company, is bad, and they become synonymous with GMOs, unfortunately, because it can give a negative take on something that may or may not be that bad or that good. I'm in the air, so if I can avoid it, I'll try.
It's funny because, a lot of people complain about like they can't get good produce in the inner city, and that's why like obesity in inner cities is higher than like a small town where you can get good produce, something like that, or I guess not a small town but a suburban area. And the thing is, the only way that they can really get produce there is through like these very long processes of delivery, and so in order to actually sustain that, it needs to be a modified organism.
Well, the thing is, that's just conventional wisdom of how they feel like is the only way to get the produce there. It's really not. I mean, depending on what it is, but I don't know if you've seen like there have been people that have started like gardens on rooftops, basically, of skyscraper or apartment buildings, stuff like that. So like there are other options to.
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, the roof of apartments is technically the property of the landowner. So if you build that up there, it's up to the discretion of your landlord to just go, fuck it, and just throw it off the roof because he doesn't want it. But
you know what though? If they're using it, especially if he's being in business ways, like, all right, well, I'll just rent out my roof.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he just do that?
But I mean, you'd have to afford to be able to rent out a roof on top of your apartment now,
Well,
but,
I'm saying like if it was used not just for yourself, because you can do it. You can do it in your house. Well, I've seen where they've done like a wall where, however they set it up, but you could vertically grow the stuff on your wall, and it might not be. It's not gonna be like fucking heads of lettuce and shit, but just fresh herbs, spices, and things like that.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder though, how sustainable that is for one person. How you could get all your nutrients, and then also like you live in the inner city. Maybe you work from like 8 to 7. Do you want to come home and make sure that your beans are tended to so you can have them in a couple weeks?
I mean, my grandmother's 86, 87, and she gardens. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we have more space, but she would do it just on the deck. She didn't even use the yard. So she'd have everything in pots, and it was a shit ton of pots, don't get me wrong. But it's a lot of fucking work. But she could do it at 87,
But would that be able to sustain her? That's the thing.
Yeah, we've used it all the time.
Because we grow tomatoes and cucumbers, but I'd say the percentage of food that we eat that isn't the food that we grow is
We could also
gigantic.
just change what you eat. You know what I'm saying? You could be eating more of a certain thing. And also, you can do it just to offset it. So instead of eating everything from having to buy it from wherever, you can have at least 30% of your stuff is now homegrown or local or whatever. And I'm also saying not even necessarily as to do it for yourself, but say whatever food store in the inner city could do it on their roof or whatever. They could come up with a way to just grow their shit there. Yeah. And it might not be everything you can get. Maybe you can't grow squash there or some shit, but you could grow a lot of stuff.
Go to the Nike store for your tomatoes. Go down the block to the bodega, get some beans.
One thing I did hear.
Why did I choose that combination?
Yeah.
That sounds so racially insensitive.
Yeah, you're an accidental racist.
Yeah, seriously, I really didn't. And you know what? There was probably someone that didn't even catch that connection that's Latino, and then I pointed out, and they're like...
And like, oh, I hate this guy now. Fucking dick. So, I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson actually talk about GMOs. And it was a very short, like 2-minute clip. Someone just had to ask him about it, who happened to be recording him, I guess. And,
which is a scary thing. That, like, you
well,
can...
it wasn't like in a big... Like, I think he knew the camera was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like on a cell phone or some shit. Like, they knew the camera was there, but it wasn't for a particular interview or anything. It just happened to be a clip that I saw. So, he was talking about how, well, you know, I don't even think he specifically said carrots, but he brought up that type of analogy where it's like, you know, stuff's been genetically modified forever and ever and ever. And did not bring up the distinction that what mine is like, yeah, but when you're selective breeding it through generations, it's all, like, if it's a fucking cucumber or whatever, it's like it's still cucumbers that you're mixing up and trying to get whatever you wanted to get and picking out the best ones and then trying to make those cucumbers made or however the fuck it works. So, and I realized I just picked a fucking vegetable that is like a phallic symbol. And
yeah, they
like,
make the cucumbers fuck.
Talking about that way. But anyway, and just taking the DNA from God knows what or whatever it is and injecting it in there is way, way different. And it just, it's unfortunate that some people, since he's so smart in what he does know about, that would take that at, you know, at face value and not really be like, oh, well, this guy's a fucking genius, well, so of course he knows. But you got to take it, like, yeah, he's a genius in astrophysics.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's a genius in. You know what I'm saying? That would be like fucking, you know, trusting Jimmy Johnson to fucking fly a plane because he's good with a car. It's like, yeah, but that's a different form of transportation is a plane. I don't want him flying my fucking plane.
But at the same time, he is a person, and he does talk about this on Star Talk, how he likes to make sure that he's well read on everything.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like people to hear something and just, you know, repeat it back. So what's interesting about that is him saying that. Now people are going to hear that and repeat that back. But, you know, I also feel like he's probably looked into it a little bit more. And that's the thing is, there is a gigantic number of people that haven't looked into this at all and just declare things bad because they're GMO. And GMO is a very, very broad term where, like you're saying, I don't know that it's like how you're saying where it sounds like it's from Jurassic Park where they're injecting DNA into other, but I know it is sort of, they are synthesizing something to get, I think they get from that a seed though, and then the seed grows to make something, which then they can get more seeds from. But yeah, it's crazy because when you talk about generations and generations of changing it like over time, that's one of the big things with corn, other than the fact that there's so many subsidies on corn right now, and that's why you see high fructose corn syrup is in things, because you actually can figure out ways to make money off of putting high fructose corn syrup in things. And they've
connected the obesity problem back to corn subsidies and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, they also connected with the fact that when you sucrose, glucose, which is fructose and sucrose together, when you get too much of that, your body goes, whoa, too much sugar. But when your body gets too much fructose, it doesn't do that. It'll just go, okay, this is delicious, let's keep going. And so that's why, yeah, like your body's almost self-regulating in that respect, but not when it comes to fructose, because we haven't adapted to that. So it's actually funny because people are big on now, you know, natural sweeteners, and it's like, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good. You know, cyanide is natural.
Yeah.
But people are now going on about agave sweetener. And I was just actually reading, do you know what percentage of agave sweetener is... Okay, actually, let's go back. Do you know what percentage of high fructose corn syrup is fructose?
No.
It's like 60% is fructose. The other 40% is sucrose sucrose, I believe. Do you know what percentage of agave is fructose?
85.
More.
So
it can go up to 90%.
Because I remember when I was, again, going through all this for myself and everything, I'm bad at recalling the details, but I remember reading everything and being like, oh, agave, don't use that, okay.
Just being like, holy fuck.
Yeah, be like, don't use that. All right, so now that's something I avoid and don't use.
And it's funny because I've seen people be like, oh, high fructose corn syrup is so bad for you because of the fructose, and then they're like, I only use honey as a sweetener. It's like, that's a lot of fructose.
You know what though? Raw honey, really good for you.
Yeah, raw honey, also local honey, really good for you if you have allergies or... Which I was looking at a thing.
And grade B maple syrup has more of the nutrients and everything than grade A.
Huh. I didn't even know that was a thing, grade B.
Grade B is hard to find. Yeah. Surprisingly hard to find.
Because I know, like, grade B beef doesn't exist. So when things say, like, they're grade A beef, like, yeah, everything's grade A beef. You couldn't fucking sell it if it wasn't.
Same thing with some of the chickens, I think, when it's, like, no antibiotics or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're not allowed to use that anymore.
Yeah, and then a lot of the ones that they say they don't use the antibiotics of, like, the specific ones that they don't use, there's no test for that. So you can't actually prove that. So anyway, in conclusion, don't eat anything anymore.
Yeah, like just avoid food at all costs.
Yeah, just if you can.
Seriously, just try to just be more aware of what's going on around you, and especially with your food source. I did mention a bunch of Netflix documentaries on probably the first episode. I'll name them again just because it's what really started my journey on it, actually. Well, one of the things, it was one of the things that started it. So, Food Inc. has been around for a while. It's probably the best known one, which is actually surprisingly the last one I watched out of all the ones that I did watch. Food Matters, Hungry for Change.
Blackfish, he doesn't eat killer whales anymore.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do that. I'm like, you know what, Free Willy, don't do it.
And that's also his pants policy, so it's been a very uncomfortable podcast.
So those three, Farmageddon, Frankensteer. Everybody, you love that one. Damn, there's a Forks Over Knives is one.
Does Frankensteer talk about how they use like a protein paste now to hold meat together? Like they just say meat is certain meat and they hold it together with like this protein glue or like meat filler.
I'm pretty sure it does. Again, I'm sketchy on actual details, and some of them get blended in. Like I actually thought what Frankensteer was about was actually Farmageddon. But Farmageddon is actually about dairy.
Yeah, I hate when you watch similar things around the same time. You're like, yeah, I think that was this person.
Yeah. So they all kind of blend in, but they're just all real good. And when you start being more aware and actually look into it for yourself, it's not as hard as you think to really get what you want. You know, as far as eating wise, especially. I was gonna say where we are in the Long Island, New York City area, it's really easy.
Yeah, also, man, when I was in San Francisco, it was actually even easier.
Yeah.
Everything there was just, like, so friendly, because, like I said, my girlfriend has celiac disease. She can't eat gluten. So, yeah, it was so much better there. But then at the same time, you call places, they didn't even know what the fuck gluten was. So.
But you can order grass-fed beef on fucking Amazon. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be frozen when it gets there and everything, and you can supply your household that way. So it's just really easy to get stuff. If you're have the ability to listen to this podcast and watch any of these documentaries, then you have the ability to basically source the food the way you want to.
I do want to wrap up pretty soon, but I actually wanted to start recently buying more stuff off of Amazon, because you get crazy deals just buying, like, I eat tons of canned beans. Like, I could just buy bulk beans off of Amazon, and, like, it's not like they're going to go bad when they're being sent to me.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I'm never going to run out.
Well, I was talking about getting that Kindle, like, the only thing that's really kind of, not the only thing, but one of the things why I just haven't clicked yes right now is I'm torn whether I should get Amazon Prime or not.
Oh, dude. I
think it's like $80 for the year, but the amount of stuff that I feel that I have ordered, because sometimes I'll order stuff and I'll put it into like their queue where you can save stuff, because if it's free shipping over $35, but you have to find other stuff that's eligible for it, so I kind of like try to piece it together that way, and I'm like, end up having to pay a few dollars anyway, because there's always that one thing that doesn't qualify for it, so I'm like, I should just fucking pay the $80 or whatever it is and not worry about it. And not only is it free, you get the automatic 2-day shipping too. So you're going to get your shit a lot quicker.
Yeah, my girlfriend's sister has like a Amazon Prime subscription that, like, within a certain amount of time, if she orders something, it'll come packaged with her cat food.
Oh, yeah. I've
like,
seen that.
And if you don't, it just automatically, your cat food will come. So, like, I accidentally, because, she'll share her Prime so I can get the overnight shipping. Mm-hmm. And I do pour over coffee, and they have these special filters for it. And, so I ordered that on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, my girlfriend's like, I accidentally shipped it to her house. She's like, your filters came. And she has this huge box. I'm like, did I order that many filters? And she's like, no, it's with cat food. So,
Yeah. Well, then that's a good place to stop. The one thing that's weird is like I want to support like local stores too, so I do feel like if I just give everything up to Amazon, I kind of feel a little bad about that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess you can't be perfect in everything, so it is what it is. I haven't shopped at Walmart in years, like I haven't even stepped foot in one.
I wish I could say the same. They have a lot of really cheap gluten-free stuff, so.
Do they really?
Yeah, so
nice.
At least the Walmart supermarket, which they like, I feel bad because I just put one around the block from my house, and supposedly they do the thing where they stay open 24 hours until like the other places around it close that are 24 hours, then they go back to normal hours.
Oh, like all the businesses actually go out of business?
Yeah, so
Holy
like
shit.
they're waiting for
So they stay open 24 hours until
like Pathmark is going to go out of business, and then they'll go back to normal.
Wow.
And
fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, they do that in small towns too with like their regular Walmarts. Hardware stores go out of business, and then
I've seen again living in a small town in Ohio. I've seen that shit.
Yeah, also Home Depot does the same thing. But yeah, sometimes I end up going there because like, the thing is with eating gluten free is that there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't have gluten in it that you should try eating. But who the fuck doesn't want to eat cookies, and stuff like that?
I gotta give you this awesome gluten-free, like, actually healthy cookie recipe. Like, you can eat these almost on the regular. It's, like, it's actually pretty good for you.
I've been experimenting with some stuff in order to, like, try to, like, make stuff with, like, beans that's, like, good for you, also, like, tastes good. And,
I have a few of them. One, actually, I just got one today that was, like, just replace the butter with an avocado.
Huh.
For cookies.
Sounds kind of funky, but
they said it doesn't change it. But I was like, I use grass-fed butter anyway, so whatever. But anyway, the cookie recipe is with almond flour, and there's also one with coconut flour. And I use dark chocolate, the grass-fed butter, and there's no sugar in it. We use raw honey, I believe. And so, I mean, there's sugars, but it's not white sugar. And that's about it. And they make awesome cookies, yeah. And you can use, I use some coconut flakes on it as well.
Yeah.
And they come out great.
There's,
coconut sugar sometimes.
Yeah, but that's what I end up getting there, is, I'll end up getting, cookies there or whatever, or, and they're, super cheap there, which kind of worries me, because I wonder if now, it's just going to be that cheap until the other places go out of business or stop carrying
Very well could be.
Gluten-free stuff or whatever, but, yeah, I hate to cut this short, but I gotta get it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And then maybe next week we'll talk about how you can go to school for free in Germany.
Oh yeah, the thing that we were going to talk about at the Open
that we specifically mentioned halfway through and still never talked about. So, so anyway, thanks again for putting up with us. I said we're gonna actually I do have a list of guests for the next couple of weeks. We just have to figure out who is going to be when. It's just, I guess that makes sense as a sentence, right?
Yeah. No,
right.
No, it doesn't.
Kind of.
But yeah, they'll figure it out.
Well, don't worry. I'm not editing that part out. So I gotta, just to let you know, if you got halfway through this and it seemed like there's a weird edit, it's because my grandmother fucking screamed up the goddamn steps to me. At this point, I should just probably leave it in. But I'm not. I'm gonna take it out. But now you know about it.
If you're editing out, you could have pretended something cooler happened though. You could have been like, Morgan Freeman came in the room at one point, and it was like.
But why would I edit that out?
No,
I'd be like, Morgan, come on in.
We have to pay him
join.
royalties. He was like, I'm sorry, you gotta pay me if I'm gonna be in this.
Really? He just showed up at my house, but then decided to be a dick.
Yeah, that's Morgan. We're so close with him. We just call him Morgan.
So there you go. Until next time. Thanks. Shout out FrankieK.com, clothing sponsor, kinda. He's my DJ clothing sponsor, but he doesn't pay us for this ad, but I'm just going to put it out there anyway because he's awesome and he makes some pretty cool looking clothes, so support that. What else? If you need a DJ, visualsoundsli.com. And if you need some artwork, hit up
Erik Fox Jackson. I'm the only one in the world, so hopefully you can find me.
Should be easy to find, actually.
Should have a blog coming pretty soon, so...
Awesome.
Been promising this for way too long.
Yeah, check out DJTracktion.com also. I've always been meaning to start writing on there, but I haven't. So there's really... doesn't get updated a lot, but there's some cool mixes on there. And there's a calendar there from... sometimes I DJ out places, so, you can check that out too. And then that's it. So goodbye. Peace out.